Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 69 on the calendar in the matter of Sells versus Ballou. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Sells, it is your claim that the defendant filed false charges of sexual assault against you, and ultimately those charges were dismissed. I assume they were dismissed after a trial. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want to be compensated?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you know the defendant.
The defendant is an employee that I work with. I am her supervisor.
And how long have you worked together?
I believe about a year.
Now, according to your complaint, something happened with the defendant's boyfriend that sort of precipitated all of this. You want to tell me about that?
Yes, ma'am. Beginning in February, Mr. Alphen, the defendant's boyfriend, began leaving threatening notes on my car. I reported them to the police. The first time they said it could be just a mistake, so they wanted to let it go. If it happened again, to come see them. So I did. It happened again in March. I got another threatening note. I had the police come down.
Do you have those notes?
I do have part of one. It was raining outside, so it got pretty destroyed. The other one is at the police station as evidence. So I'm going to give this to the judge, please.
Tell me my job.
Okay. How many notes in total did the defendant's boyfriend leave on your car?
I received 2. After the second one, I went to the police again, and they came to my place of employment. We watched the surveillance tapes to discover that it was Mr. Alphen.
You didn't know who it was at the time?
Not until I saw the surveillance tapes.
Go ahead.
When they found out who it was, they asked me what I wanted to do about it, and I said I would like to file a complaint. I filed a complaint on the 23rd, and they said they were going to talk to him or have him arrested because he had admitted to it because they had talked to him previously. He was arrested, and then an hour after he was arrested, Miss Ballou went to the police and told them that I had sexually assaulted her between the dates of March 1st through March 4th. She couldn't remember when. However, on the citation when I was arrested, she narrowed it down to March 4th at 12:30 p.m.
Do you have those complaints?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
Also, on the time that she claims it occurred, Miss Ballou claims it occurred at 12:30 p.m. March 4th. However, I have coinciding records that show Miss Ballou did not clock in for work until 12:57 that day. There would be no possible way in that 27 minutes I could do an override or a supervisor function for her if she had not even gotten a register yet or been at work.
So what happened when you were arrested, Mr. Sells? You were arrested, ultimately, I assume you had to hire a lawyer, or you were given a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
You hired a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
What happened with the boyfriend's case?
We were both given the date of May 2nd. However, I moved it up to 4/18 because I felt I wanted to get it over with. The situation was bad enough. I didn't need to let it drag out. Mr. Alphen pleaded guilty to harassment and was given a year's probation, the same date that my trial was.
What happened at the end of the trial?
My lawyer kept pushing that we had surveillance tapes and videotapes that had to be shown if they wanted to prove, you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was not guilty. The judge didn't want to watch the tapes, so he appointed the prosecutor and my attorney to watch the tapes. They watched the tapes. A few days later, the judge ruled not guilty.
Did the prosecutor agree that that was...
Yes,
to
yes, he
dismiss
agreed.
the charges?
Yes, the judge, the prosecutor, and my lawyer were all together in it.
Okay. Now, I've read in your complaint, sir, that you had had a conversation with Miss Ballou, either you or your lawyer, prior to the date set for both her boyfriend and you to appear in court with regard to dropping the charges. Can you tell me about that conversation?
We were in court getting ready for my trial, and Miss Ballou's lawyer, attorney, came to my attorney and spoke with us about if I would drop the charges against Mr. Alphen, then they would drop the charges against me.
And you declined to do that?
Yes, I did, due to my innocence.
Were you suspended from your job for any period of time?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
For how long?
33 days.
You are now back at work?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the defendant?
She wasn't suspended. She is still employed.
All right, Miss Ballou, now I'll hear you.
Well, when I made the complaint to the officer in the report, it was not the 4th. It was sometime the first week, the 1st or the 4th.
What date did you start to work at the company together with the plaintiff?
The beginning of August, I would say.
Of 2001?
Yes.
And Mr. Sells was your supervisor all that time?
Yes.
And was this gentleman your boyfriend all of that time?
Yes.
Now, I want you to stand up, sir. Your last name is?
Alphen.
Mr. Alphen, why were you leaving notes on the plaintiff's car?
Because my girlfriend, then my fiance now, is being sexually assaulted at work.
No, sexually assaulted is a conclusion. What did your girlfriend tell you that inspired you to leave these notes?
The plaintiff, Ryan, a person has their personal space, and at work he would stand very close to Kristen, talk to her in a flirty manner, try to rub her shoulders, and she would tell him to stop, and he would just blow it off like she was joking. He would try to hug her all the time and put his hands toward her breasts. And, yes, ma'am.
That you're making up?
No, ma'am.
That you're making up as you're going? Keep going.
And finally, there was an incident at work where he got very close to her, rubbed himself on her.
No, that happened in March, sir. That happened after you wrote the notes on his car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, after you left these notes on his car, which you, I assume, did not sign.
No, Your Honor.
What did you say in the notes, sir?
I called him a little.
You called him a little.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know.
Now,
if
why
it's
would you call him a little? Please.
Because I was very angry.
A little is not something that you call a man. You may call a man but you don't call a man a little. Now, why did you call him a little, sir?
Because I was very angry at him for touching my fiancée, ma'am.
You're not answering my question.
Well,
Officer Byrd understands my question. You call a woman a bitch. You don't call a man a little bitch. And you know that. So why would you call him a little bitch?
Because I was angry, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me, and he touched my back.
If Ryan would not have done anything to me, there would have been no more.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Ryan Sells claims he was arrested when co-worker Christine Ballou made false allegations of sexual assault. Ryan says she was looking for revenge.
Now, Miss Ballou, is it just coincidental, madam, that you filed a formal complaint for the first time for incidents that had occurred months before, 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested? Is that just coincidental? Is that what you want me to believe?
No, I have.
It was on purpose?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me, what inspired you 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested to file this complaint?
Well, I had talked to management about it before, and they didn't seem to do anything. So the officer didn't cuff him or anything. He just came to our place of work and told him that both of us needed to meet him at the police station. So we went down there, and I told him everything that Mr. Sells has done to me, and he asked me if I would like to make a complaint, and I said yes. But that day, when we were at work, when I turned him into management for like the 5th time after they didn't do anything, he came back up to work after he
Do you
came back.
have any copies of the reports that you made to management prior to March of 2002?
They didn't have me write a statement. They just talked.
And you didn't write a statement.
They did not
No, you did not write a statement. You have the ability to write a statement.
I did write statements with one of my management.
Oh, let me see it.
I don't have them. They would not let us take anything out of...
Well, if you write a statement, an intelligent person keeps a copy. Go ahead.
Ryan came back up to work after he found out that I had turned him in and walked up to my register when I was checking people out, told me I was full in sexual harassment, all this was bull.
I believe that's true.
So...
I believe that's true.
I have...
Oh, I believe... Let me see your proof.
That Ryan has done this to me and other women and that other people I've seen.
You want them?
I don't want letters. I don't know who the people are. I don't know if they're your friends. I don't know. Certainly your letter is self-serving.
One of the women that are on here is sitting right over there that states...
You have a letter from a woman who is sitting over here?
I have a letter from a woman that saw Mr. Sells, the way he acts sexually towards this woman sitting over here.
Oh, well, let me see. I'd be
Her
quite...
name is stated.
Don't tell me her name.
Excuse me, Your Honor. May I bring my witness over to speak with you?
Sure.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Lisa Volo.
Lisa, you're mentioned in this letter as someone who the plaintiff made sexual comments to. Never touching or anything else, but sexual comments to. Can you think of any of those comments?
No, he never has. And in fact, the Monday after Mr. Sells was arrested, I was called into the management's office. They wanted me to make a statement against Mr. Sells. Ms. Ballou said that I had witnessed the whole sexual assault. And at that time, I made a statement saying that I never witnessed anything and I never saw Mr. Sells.
How long have you been working at the same place as the plaintiff?
I've been working at this store for 9 months.
Have you ever seen Mr. Sells do anything of a sexual nature that was untoward physically to anyone?
No, ma'am, I've never.
And I want you to be honest with me about this. Have you ever heard him say anything, even in a joking manner, that might be construed as being inappropriate?
No, I have never.
Now, Mr. Rolfin, did your girlfriend and now fiancé ever say that she didn't like the way Mr. Sills was talking to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever go up to him and discuss it with him?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I was very angry and I did not want to take any physical action against Mr. Sells.
That's not physical action.
Well, in
That's
talking...
not physical action. That's just saying, listen, you may think something is cute, but my girlfriend doesn't appreciate it. So I'd like you to not talk to her about anything other than being very professional, rather than writing these sick notes and leaving them on his car unsigned.
But if Ryan would not have done anything to me, there would have been no motive.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney. I think maybe you didn't like the way he talked to you, but there isn't a chance in hell that he sexually assaulted you as you outlined in your papers. And what you did was your boyfriend got busted because he wrote nasty notes on the car, and this was your way of gaining leverage. Because if you would have said, well, he talked to me inappropriately, they would not have arrested him. They would not have arrested him. So you fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me and he touched my back. Now, your boyfriend has an interesting choice of words when he refers to the plaintiff. So he may not have liked him for a variety of reasons. But there is no question in my mind that you are full of it when you say that he physically touched you. So, he was out of work for 33 days. He hired a lawyer. The maximum he is suing for in the jurisdiction where you come from is $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you are entitled to every penny.
Thank
Judgment
you
for the
so
plaintiff.
much,
That's
Judge.
all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And everyone knows that she lied and that I was totally innocent the whole time.
Ryan knows what he did, and he should be punished, but he's not.
I never seen Ryan do anything, and I just knew she was lying.
Stay away from Ryan.
Miss Ballou put me through hell for nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Payton versus Preston. Step forward, please.
Bill Paith is suing his former live-in girlfriend, home health care worker Margaret Preston, for a $2,000 cell phone bill. Margaret is countersuing for the return of her property and for harassment.
Mr. Pape, according to your complaint, the defendant and her daughter moved into your home. And at some point, you put her on your cell phone. She
Yes,
was
ma'am.
using a cell phone that you were responsible for. She and her daughter subsequently moved out, and she had accumulated several $1,000s in phone bills on the cell phone, and you believe she is responsible for those bills.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Preston says that there was never an agreement with regard to her repaying you for her cell phone use, and she has a counterclaim. She says that you kept some of her property when she moved out, and that you have embarked upon a campaign of harassing her. When and why did she and her daughter move in with you, sir?
We had, if you will use the term loosely, dated in the past. For approximately a year, she is married. She'd been talking on many occasions the past fall about leaving her husband. She wasn't happy. We had talked on a few occasions about maybe trying to get together, start dating. I told her a few times, I got a 4-bedroom house. I live in a good neighborhood. I'm a single guy. Move in with me. We'll see what happens.
Okay, continue, sir.
I got a U-Haul rental truck and moved her and her daughter into my house. This is December 21st, I believe. She was working some sort of home health care job. In the beginning of January, she made a comment. We felt it would be good. I agreed with her. She could use a cell phone for her job. She wasn't able to get one because of her credit. But I said, well, listen, we'll go out, we'll get you a cell phone. We'll put it under my name, my plan, because I already currently have one. What we need to do is you have to be able to pay for half the bill and anything above and beyond that. You use extra minutes, you're going to have to pay for that. I can't afford that stuff. She agreed. I went out, I bought her a $150 phone. January 9th, we had this plan started and purchased the phone. I had the phone shut off March 22nd. The phone bill was well over $2,000.
Can I see a copy of the phone bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you discuss the phone bill with her?
A number of occasions.
Is that right?
I had agreed to pay half, yes. But
You
I
did?
was only told about $1,000. And I have one bill here of $189.
Who were you talking to?
Your Honor.
Who were you talking to?
People calling me about going different places for my work. I do home health care.
People calling you or you calling them?
Both.
She has 1 month with 874 calls. They are detailed, my phone number, my calls, her phone number, her calls. She has 874 calls in 1 month. That month alone, I believe the bill shows $1,080 in extra minutes alone.
Okay, the bills that you've given me are $1,635. Okay, now, I'm interested, Ms. Preston, because in your answer to this complaint, you say that you never had an agreement with him to pay this bill.
We had a verbal agreement that I would pay half.
You did?
But when I tried to, for instance, I bought groceries one time. My daughter was a witness to Bill going through the roof over the fact that I had bought groceries. He didn't want my money. And this
Well, that's what
happened
you
on
say in
20
your answer, but now you say that you do have a responsibility to pay this phone bill.
But he would not accept my money.
Did you ever offer him money for the phone bill?
No, I did not have the $2,000. I never saw a $2,000 phone bill.
Okay, now you want to tell me about your counterclaim, please.
When I moved out, I recorded a conversation between Bill and I where he was off and on saying whether or not he was going to give me my stuff. At one point he said he'd give me my stuff and we'd just call it even. He threatened to hold my stuff, so to speak, hostage for $1,000 because that's what he said the phone bill was. He couldn't make up his mind about how much the phone bill was. I finally was able to talk him into letting me come in and get my stuff, and I got a U-Haul truck and some friends went over, got as much of my stuff as I could, and have discovered that there was a lot that I didn't get, and there were things that were ruined while I lived there. Because he has 3 dogs. They urinated or chewed my stuff up.
I'm not interested in what his dogs did to your stuff. You were living there, voluntarily.
Yes.
His dogs
Your
pulled
Honor?
apart. Shh. Do I look like I need help?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, if you didn't like living there, you should have moved out, which you ultimately did, but then you don't sue him because his dogs damaged some of your stuff. What stuff do you claim he didn't give you?
I don't have an itemized list, Your Honor.
Well, then you don't get anything for that. So then let's go to the next part of your counterclaim, which was for harassment. You want to tell me about that?
I have a taped conversation. It's a very vulgar taped conversation.
Why
with
don't you
him.
tell me about it?
Just harassing me, telling me I can't have my stuff, cussing me out about
But he
a
ultimately gave you
conversation.
your stuff.
Some of it.
Is
He
that what you're
harassed my daughter.
Is that what you're talking about? Is that the harassment that you're talking
Yes,
about?
not only did he harass my daughter, but so did his witness.
His witness isn't on trial today, so you have no counterclaim. And he has a claim. That's the bills that he's presented to me are $1,635. That you get. Now, did you shut off the cell phone, sir?
Oh, yes, I did. I had it
That is
long ago.
very smart. That's all.
All right, case number 225 on the calendar in the matter of Martinez versus Singleton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
All right, Ms. Martinez, your claim is one for assault and injury that you allege that Mr. Singleton caused you. I'm going to try to put this case in perspective so we can get down to the nitty-gritty of it swiftly because I have other business today. You brought your car into his shop to have your car windows tinted.
Yes.
Had you ever had dealings with him before?
Never.
You brought it in early one morning, and when you called at about midday to find out the car was ready, Mr. Singleton or somebody else in the shop said that they hadn't started working on it yet, but it would be ready sometime later that day.
Correct.
Well, you were annoyed that your car hadn't been worked on yet. You came down to the shop to get the car. It was at that point that you claimed that there was an altercation. You got into your car and you claimed that Mr. Singleton became obstreperous, slammed the car door onto your left arm, causing you to be injured, causing pain and suffering and a whole bunch of other things. Mr. Singleton says you're a very good actress, right?
Yes.
When had you made arrangements to take the car into his shop, Miss Martinez?
I called him the evening before. I called him on the 26th.
And he said bring it in what time in the morning?
He said he does it only by appointments and to be there at 8 o'clock.
And you were there at 8 a.m.?
I was.
What time did he tell you to pick up the car?
He asked me to call him about 2 o'clock.
So what time did you call?
I actually called at 12 as I was leaving for lunch. I thought maybe when I was done with my lunch hour that I could go by and pick up my car because the night before he had told me he would only need my car for 4 hours.
Okay. Called at noon, and what did he say?
He was very angry at me and told me that I was not supposed to call him until 2 o'clock. I was told not to call him. And I tried explaining to him, well, I'm leaving for lunch right now. I was going to be gone for an hour. I thought maybe at 1 p.m. I could come by and pick it up. Well, we haven't started it yet. And he said, call me back at 2. And I thought at that point, because he was so rude to me on the telephone, I didn't feel comfortable with him having my vehicle. So I called him back and I told him that I was on my way, that I wasn't going to have my car done there. If he needed my car for 4 hours, he wasn't going to have my car ready by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. if he hadn't even started
Fine,
yet.
so you went down to get your car. You told him, don't work on my car. I'm coming down to pick it up.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
said it very nicely. I wasn't angry.
So you went down to pick up your car.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I walked into the building. There, I have pictures of the building. I walked into the building on the left-hand side.
Would you talk to me and stop looking at pictures? I don't care which side you walked in.
Okay, well, I walked into the business, and I was standing at the counter. There was two gentlemen tinting windows. Mr. Singleton was not there. And I stood there for a moment, and I kind of said out loud, I'm here to pick up my keys for my vehicle. And I looked over, and there was a board on the left-hand side, and there was my keys, and there was an invoice there. And I go, oh, here they are right here. No one said anything, so I picked up my keys, and I actually took the invoice as well. It had no writing on it but my address. I was not comfortable with him having my address, so I wanted to remove my address out of there, and if he brought the invoice, it would show very clearly that I was not messing with his numbers if he had reasons.
You didn't think about all this stuff. Come on. You picked up your keys, and the invoice was on it. What did you do next?
I started walking to my vehicle, and I believe his witness here was yelling at me, not the paperwork, not the paperwork. And I continued walking. Well, he came over and he snatched the paper out of my hand. And I said, well, that's okay. I go, I just wanted my address out of there. He got the paper and there was no words. I went to my car. I got in my car. Mr. Singleton came out of a totally different building, and he came up to my car, in front of my car, over to my car, and opened my car door. He was yelling at me.
Open which door?
He opened my driver's door, where I was sitting. He opened my door.
You had already gotten into the car and closed
Oh, yes.
the door.
I was in my car. I had started my car.
Go ahead.
And so he came over, opened my car door. He started yelling at me. He was furious at me. For what reason, I don't know
Well,
why.
what did he say, Miss Martinez?
Oh, he was yelling at me that I was supposed to not call him until 2 o'clock. I couldn't even tell you everything he was yelling at me. I don't remember. I was shocked that he was yelling at me.
Go ahead.
So I tried closing my car door. I reached to close my car door, and he had his arm like this on my car door standing, and he pulled it back away from me. I said, it really doesn't matter. And he was so angry, and he just kept yelling at me. And so I sat there. There was nothing I could do. And then he's called me, and he slammed my door as hard as he could, and it hit me in my arm area here, and it shoved my area here. When he did that, he walked away. I sat there for a minute, one, because I was in shock, two, because he had just hurt me. And then I got out of my car and told him I was calling the police and having him arrested for assault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. You didn't find out that somebody died. You're a little bit of an actress.
And later today,
He proposed to me and broke it off.
So what? If he wasn't going to be a good husband, you're all going to go home and you're going to say, lucky, we called it off when we should have. Goodbye and good luck.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Karen Martinez says window tinting technician Kent Singleton detained her at his place of business and then assaulted her. Kent says Karen is a good actress.
Go ahead.
He yelled at me continually still. I asked my girlfriend, because my phone was not charged, I asked my girlfriend if I could use her telephone. So I got the phone from her and I called 911. He's yelling at me to get off his property. I was not in my car at that time and just kept yelling to get off his property. And I said, I'm trying, because I was getting the phone and dialing. So I finally did get off his property, and I waited for the police for about an hour and a half to get there. They took a report. I have the report.
I'd like to see the report.
Okay. The girlfriend that was with me, she had fully intended to come today. She's a school teacher, and she wasn't able to come today. Her statement.
I don't take her statement.
Okay.
How come you decided not to prosecute?
When the officer came out and took the report, I told him that I wanted to have him arrested, and he talked me out of it. He said that if I did that, he could turn around and have me arrested or have me prosecuted.
For what?
For a false statement, or I don't know why he said that. He just said that it could turn around on me.
Just says the victim desired no prosecution.
I've also talked to somebody at the station since then.
Don't tell me what you said to somebody at the station, madam. That's hearsay. Okay.
Well, I wanted
I
to
have a
find
couple of
out.
things. What?
I wanted to find out because I didn't know that's what that meant. I didn't know that.
Well, that's what
that
it means. It means no prosecution. What do you mean you don't know what that meant? No prosecution.
I didn't have the report at that time, so
but that's
I
what
didn't
it means.
know.
The victim desires no prosecution means that you decided not to prosecute. Mr. Singleton, okay, you have a slightly different version of the events, sir, but there's one thing that you do say. She was in her car with the car door closed, and you told the police that you opened her car door. Why did you do that, sir?
Because Rich told me what she said to him and what she did up in front, and he said that...
Wait a second. What she did was she took her keys and a piece of paper that was a work order. Your employee had already gotten back the work order. There's nothing on the work order except her name and address and what work was to be done, because no work was done on the car. Is that right?
Yeah, but it shows proof. I mean, if she went and had her car tinted someplace else and, say, got a bad job, she could sit there and say, I have a receipt.
Correct. She could have done that, sir. However, your employee had already gotten back the work order, so all she had was her car and her keys. Why did you open her car door?
Because she basically took the course of events from the very beginning to the very end and twisted them around. And
No. Let me explain something. It's not what happened. And you told her to be there at 8 o'clock. Happens all the time. You tell everybody that day, bring your car in at 8 o'clock. When you get around to doing their car, you do it. She hadn't specified to you what time she needed her car back. And this I'm getting all from what you told the police initially, sir. So, because she wasn't one of the customers that day that said, I need my car back in 4 hours, you pushed her over until later. And you did other cars before you did hers.
No, I never do that.
Well, you did. You were doing other cars before you did hers. But that's okay. You're entitled to do that.
No, I don't do that, ma'am.
Okay. You're entitled to do it if you want to do it. I mean, you hadn't started working on her car at noon, and she brought the car in at 8 o'clock in the morning.
We tell people to be there between 8 and 9 in the morning.
Fine.
Okay, the cars are done according to the way they came in. I have a very, very strong company policy of not putting anybody in front of somebody.
Listen to me, Mr. Singleton. You can tell people, be there at 8 o'clock. It takes 4 hours. You do not explain to them that you're coming in on a first-come, first-served basis. And that may be your policy. Because if you worked strictly on appointment, you would have said to her, be there at 2 o'clock and I will have your car ready for you at 6 o'clock. That's an appointment. But you don't. You have the cars stacked up so that the cars are waiting for you rather than you waiting for the cars. That's your business. You're entitled to do that. I'm not faulting you for that, sir. I'm faulting you because you opened her car door. The situation had already de-escalated. If there was any problem up front, any problem at all up front, that had already been resolved with your witness, who took the paperwork back. Right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So she had a car, she had her keys, she was hysterical. So she's out. So
Ma'am, may I tell you something?
I don't want to hear anything else from you because I don't like exaggerators either. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I hear you.
Good. Because what you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. I mean, nobody killed your child or you didn't find out that somebody died.
No, I'm
It's
very
months later.
sensitive.
It's months later. You had an altercation with a mechanic, which happens frequently, unfortunately, and he slammed the door, and I believe that he hurt your arm when he slammed the door, that the door hit your arm because you're not totally in the car, you're not careful of that, and he slammed it, and at that moment it hurt your arm. I don't believe that you almost died as a result of that.
No, I
Understand
didn't.
that? Okay, so I don't see why it required all the tears, unless, as the defendant says, you're a little bit of an actress.
No, I'm very
That doesn't mean that
sensitive.
he's allowed to do what he did. He can't. Because you slammed the door on her arm and you hurt her. So aside from saying, I'm sorry, you got to compensate her. Let me see your medical bills. What day of the week was it that you went to his place of business?
It was a Thursday.
Were you working on Friday, June 28th?
Yes, I was at work.
Right. And am I correct that the first time you went to any sort of a clinic or doctor was not until July 1st?
Yes.
And what time did you go to the clinic on July 1st?
I went as soon as I could get the first appointment. I went between 8 and 8:30 in the morning.
And then you went to work that day?
No, I did not. I was taken off work for 3 days. I couldn't move my head. I couldn't drive.
But you were fine the next day?
No, I was not fine the
You
next
stayed
day.
at work all day on the 28th?
Yes, my arm was very sore.
Okay.
But it was 3 days later I woke up and something in my neck and my shoulder here was hurting me, and I couldn't lift my head off the bed. I called my supervisor. My supervisor from work came and picked me up and took me to the doctors. I couldn't drive. I couldn't hardly do anything.
What else do you want to tell me, Mr. Singleton?
I feel that when she called and said, is my car ready? She says, I have to have it by 2 o'clock. I have somewhere to go. I said, ma'am, it will be ready by 2 o'clock. It takes us an hour to do each car, then it will sit out outside for an hour. It's hot during the summertime. The tent dries quick. I says, it will be ready by 2. She hangs up and calls back a minute later. I'm going to come and pick up my car right now.
Fine.
Now, I've had people upset before because their car isn't being done first. But we do have a bad problem with people making appointments. If we try to do 8, 10, 12, 2, and people don't show, then we're sitting around for 2 hours not making any money. And it is a business.
I understand that, but she said, I'm coming to get my car. She has a right to do that.
She does have a right to do that.
And I wasn't angry.
I didn't ask you to say anything.
Okay.
He's been very quiet when you've been testifying.
You're right.
Go ahead.
What she did to Rich and what she did to me.
What'd she do to you?
Basically, she twisted. She goes, I can't believe you haven't touched my car yet.
So?
And I said, well, ma'am, I says, we will have it done at that time. I says, it's very frustrating, you know, when you're sitting there trying to run a business and people, I'm very clear with people. I tell them.
So I'm not interested in being clear with people. I want to know why you didn't just let her get into her car and leave. You hadn't touched her car, hadn't done any work on her car. She has a right to let that happen. So, should have just let her go.
I probably should have.
And you were angry, and you slammed the car door on her.
Well, I know the door didn't touch her. I mean,
you don't know that at all.
I looked right at her.
You don't know that it didn't hit her at all. You were angry. You slammed the car door. That's what you did. That's what you did, Mr. Singleton.
Can I have Rich stand up for a sec?
No.
Because he was standing right there.
No. I believe that you slammed the car, that you were really angry, that you came in. It was one less job that you were going to do that day. You felt that she was being unreasonable, that you were told her to call at 2 o'clock. Instead of calling at 2, she called at 12, 2 hours beforehand, which took somebody away from what they were supposed to be doing in order to answer her questions when she was told not to call until 2 o'clock.
We don't tell people, you know.
Well, she was told not to call until 2, that you weren't going to have any news for her until 2 o'clock as to when her car was going to be ready. Whatever it is, you don't want a dissatisfied customer. Not happy? She leaves. You lost your temper, and you slammed the car door, and it hurt her. It didn't hurt her $5,000 worth. Did you go to see a lawyer, by the way?
No.
Lawyer would tell her, this is not a $5,000 injury. How much out-of-pocket expense did you have?
$550.25, ma'am.
And how many days were you out of work?
3 days.
How much do you earn a day?
$136, ma'am.
Your out-of-pocket expenses are approximately $1,500. To that, I'm adding another $1,000 for your pain and suffering. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Thank you,
Parties
ma'am.
are excused. You may step out.
Well, that's pretty evident. The way she's crying and everything, she is a drama queen.
The whole thing was upsetting, and I'm glad that it's over now.
I think she blew everything up in her mind.
He did that to me and thought that he could do it and get away with it.
Nothing happened.
And I hope that he doesn't do that to somebody else.
She referred to his size and basically called him a type of animal.
I'm just happy, and I hope.
All parties in the matter of Oric versus Galvin. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Justin Oric is suing his former friend, 19-year-old Drew Galvin, for knocking over his Ninja motorcycle. Drew says the bike was parked in the wrong spot.
Mr. Oric, you were at a party, and the defendant was also at a party, and it is your claim that he damaged your motorcycle, which you had driven to the party. Mr. Galvin says that the motorcycle was, in fact, damaged, but it was your fault because you parked it in the wrong place. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell me what happened, Mr. Oric.
I got off work about 9 o'clock. I called my friends, and they all said they were over at some girl's house, so I got directions over there. And I pulled up over there.
On your motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of motorcycle is it?
It's a 1997 ZX7R Ninja 750.
Sounds very impressive. How much did you pay for it, sir?
About $3,500.
When did you purchase it?
In August of '05.
Okay.
I parked it, and he was sitting on the back of his car. And he was pretty intoxicated, and he let me know that. And
how did he let you know that?
Well, I shook his hand. He's like, "How's it going?" He's like, I could smell it. And he's like, "I'm pretty drunk," And I was just like, all right, yeah, whatever, that's fine. And I walked into the house because that's where pretty much everyone was. And I was sitting in there talking, and everybody heard this crash. I got up and door. I noticed my motorcycle laying on the ground. He was over there trying to pick it up. Helmet was rolling around in a big puddle of water, and trying to figure out what was going on. He said he was sitting on it, and it fell over on one side. And that he went to pick it up, and it fell over the kickstand onto the other side. And that's the crash that we heard. And I just told him I wanted the money and everything. He was intoxicated, so he got all mad and started trying to fight. He's like, "I'll fight you over it right now."
What were you going to fight him over, sir?
I never said that, but that's beside the point.
Why were you so drunk?
Actually,
How old are you?
I'm 19 years old. That's
Okay.
what's so silly about
You're
this whole
19.
thing.
Just a second.
Okay.
Who do you think is going to be in control of this courtroom, Mr. Galvin, you or me?
You.
Right. So first stand up and take your hands off the table. Very good. You're 19. You can stand on your own 2 feet. That would be perfect. So why would a 19-year-old boy get so drunk? Is there nothing else to do in Arkansas?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, pretty much. There's nothing there. There's cows and, like, people with nothing to do.
So they drink.
The majority of them, yes.
You drink.
On occasions, yes.
Well, but you were drinking on May 6th.
Yeah, I had a little.
Did you go to school? Do you work? What do you do to
Yes,
occupy
ma'am.
yourself?
I
What-
work.
You work for whom?
Razorback Car Wash in Bryant for right now, but
I didn't understand a word you said.
Razorback Car Wash in Bryant.
Razorback Car Wash. Okay, for right now.
Yes, ma'am.
How
Actually,
long?
whenever I get back, I'm going to be in the heat and air business. I've already got a job.
Great. And you're going to stay in Benton?
Me and my fiance are trying to figure that out now.
You're 19 and you have a fiancé.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have any children, do you?
No, ma'am.
None expected.
No, ma'am. We were pregnant but had a miscarriage.
19 is too young to have any children, sir. You know, you have to find something else to do other than drink and make babies.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, go to the library. Do they have a library in Benton?
Yes, ma'am. There actually is. Been there quite a few times.
Have you? How
Yes,
many
ma'am.
times?
I'd say whenever I was in school, about almost every other weekend.
You mean when you stopped going to school, you stopped going to the library?
No, ma'am. I started working a lot.
Well, but you still have time. You had time to get drunk, sir. I would suggest you spend your time in the library. You had time to make a baby, right? You have time to go to the library. There are other things that you can do
Yes, ma'am.
other than drinking and procreating at age 19. You can expand your mind, expand your horizons,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Galvin. Now, you don't really want to tell me that it was the bike's fault that it fell down because it was parked in the wrong place, do you?
Well,
You
sort
really
of.
want to tell me that, Mr. Galvin? You look like such a nice young man.
I have
Misguided, perhaps, but a nice young man.
I have pictures of the spot where my car was and his bike right behind it. Like it is a one-person parking spot. But I was on my way around. The car whenever I tripped over it.
Mr. Orick says that when he got to the party, you were sitting outside on your car.
No, actually, I was inside talking to Danielle.
No, you weren't, sir, because you were too drunk to know what in the world you were doing.
Well, I mean, if I was that drunk, how come the cops didn't write me? And in the police report, anywhere it
Why
doesn't
would
say.
they do that? You weren't driving.
I told him not to.
Shh. You weren't driving. He didn't want to get you into any trouble. That's not my question. You know how much you were drinking. Well, at least at the beginning you knew how much you were drinking. Did you end up staying at the house?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I did, and my belt was stolen.
Just a second. You ended up staying at the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you sleep?
In the bed with the girl that I was seeing at the time.
This was in May?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it the same girl that you're affianced to now?
No, ma'am. It's not.
So between May of 2006 and now, we have had a new fiancé and an almost baby. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, you paid $3,500 for the bike, according to you, maybe, more than a year ago.
Yes, ma'am.
You want $4,200 to fix it. That's not going to happen. Do you understand?
Can I explain why he
Yeah,
sold
sure.
it? The guy sold it to me for that because he was scared of it. He said he was either going to get put in jail or killed on it. It has always worth of work in it. It's got a crate motor. It's been lowered, custom paint, custom exhaust. It's pretty much a show bike. So it's worth more than $3,500 is what I'm trying to say.
Can I see the estimate to fix it, please?
Yes, ma'am. There's 2 parts estimates and 2 paint estimates in there. There's the damage.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Rorick?
I work for AutoZone, but I'm a full-time college student as well.
Where'd you get the money to buy this?
I worked hard for it. I had a dirt bike that I sold for it, and it's hard work.
Oh, it's a beauty.
Thanks.
I mean, I wouldn't get on one of these things. I like to have a whole bunch of steel around me.
Yeah.
There are a lot of crazies on the road.
Yeah, there is.
So I like to be in a Sherman tank when I'm on the road. But I know that a lot of people like these things, including my husband, who lusts after one.
Really?
He'll continue to lust after one. All right. Mr. Galvin, where are you going to be next weekend?
At my house?
No. Where are you going to be next weekend?
The
library.
The library, yes, ma'am.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Like I said, I tripped over it. I'm pretty sure it's just an accident.
We're still friends as far as I know.
No.
you purchased cell phones, and he was supposed to pay his bill. He didn't pay his bill. You also want him to pay for his cell phone.
Yes.
The defendant says that the money that you did, in fact, give him to have his car fixed was just that, a gift, that he provided all the support for you and his child while you were living in an apartment together, that the phone was something that he purchased, and he paid for that, and he paid for the 1 month's worth of service that he actually used the phone, and then you shut the phone off. He has a counterclaim because he says that in April, at the time that the two of you separated, you had him falsely arrested for domestic violence, and he believes he should be compensated for the 27-hour police precinct. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
Okay. On what date, Mr. Mealy, were you arrested for domestic violence?
April 3rd, 2006.
And at that time, how long had you and Miss Arnold been living together?
We'd been living together for a little over a year.
Now, Miss Arnold, in the year that you were living together, you were living in an apartment. Is that right?
Correct. We lived in the apartment just from December to April.
And when was your child born?
January 24th, 2006.
Keep your voice up, please.
Okay.
So from the time you moved into the apartment, I assume, until the time that you separated in April, you were not working.
I had one job for about 2 weeks.
So you were not working?
No.
And Mr. Mealy was supporting the household?
Yes.
He was paying the rent?
Yes.
He was paying for food?
Yes.
He was paying the gas, electric, and utilities?
Yes.
Paid for the expenses of the baby at home?
Mostly.
Well, you didn't. So if...
No, but state helped.
How much did the state help?
I believe I got, well, right, as soon as I moved out, I got $440, and he has paid $1 towards child support in the last 3 months.
I'm not asking you that.
Okay.
I'm asking you from December until April.
Pretty much all of it.
So he paid for everything?
Yes.
And you put the car repairs on your credit card?
Part of them, yes.
$600 worth?
I put $210 down on my credit card, and I'm making payments for the rest.
How much in total?
I believe the total was $558.
$558. So for the 4 months that you lived together, your capital contribution was $558.
Yes.
That seem reasonable to you?
No, but I did have the baby.
So what? So did millions of other people, madam.
I just think it's kind of hard to work being 9 months pregnant.
You working now?
No.
Where are you living?
I just got a triplex with my boyfriend.
With your boyfriend?
Yes.
Well, you didn't just have a baby and you're not 9 months pregnant, so how come you're not working?
I am looking for a job.
Well, you've been looking for a long time. Your baby was born in January. So first your baby was born, then you had state aid, now you found another boyfriend to support you. Let's hear what happened in April on the 3rd, sir.
April of the 3rd, I picked Destiny up from Albertsons at the job she said she did have for 2 weeks on her lunch break. I lived 1 block from the Albertsons that she worked at.
When you say you lived there, is that where you lived together?
No, she'd actually moved out.
Okay, so she moved out and you were picking her up from work anyway?
Yeah, she asked me to come and pick her up for lunch.
Okay.
And I did so. I went down and I picked Destiny up for lunch. I brought her to my apartment.
Where was the baby?
With her mother.
Okay, so you brought it to your apartment. Is that where she wanted to go?
Yes.
For what?
For lunch.
Okay.
And at that time, me and Destiny started arguing.
What were you arguing about?
We had a car that we purchased together, and Destiny's sister's ex-fiance was the dealer of that car, and he had not sent the stuff into the state, and Destiny went back to him and asked him to change it because she was going to leave me. And
you mean to change the title?
Change the title. And
into her name?
He rewrote the whole title to her name.
When was the car purchased?
In November of 2005.
In November of 2005, where did the money come to purchase the car?
Destiny had a car previous to that. It was a Pontiac Grand Am. We sold that car and used that money to put the down payment for that car. I supported that car and I paid for all the repairs, fixings.
From November until April?
No, from when Destiny first moved out.
Which was when?
In August 2005.
So from August 2005 until April?
Yes.
You made the payments on the car?
I made the insurance payments as well as the car repairs for both the Jeep and the Grand Am.
Who made the car payment?
Destiny had moved out and she used the state's aid for the car payment.
So you were both paying something for the car?
Correct.
Now I understand what the argument was about. You were annoyed that for whatever you put into the car, you were getting nothing.
Yes, and...
Okay, fine. So that's what the argument was about. Now, what happened during the course of that argument? Because it escalated and the police were ultimately called.
Destiny also was selling my stuff on eBay.
What stuff?
Video game consoles. I had a very large collection of almost every game console. And
I don't know what that is.
The PlayStations, a Sega Saturn, and Destiny was selling on eBay. I then asked for Destiny's keys back. She said no.
You mean she was taking your property out of your house?
Yes.
Were you selling his property on eBay?
The
The answer is either yes or no.
Technically, no. We both owned the game consoles. I had talked to him about this. We sold them on eBay, and we split the sharing.
Split the what?
We split the money that we received from it. He made a credit card payment, and I made a payment to Les Schwab from the tires that I bought for him.
I'm not talking about tires. I'm asking you whether you were selling his property on eBay.
I know. Technically, it was both of our property, and we split the money that we got from eBay.
So then there were arguments. So you asked for her keys back because you said she was taking stuff from your house.
Correct.
And she wasn't living there anymore.
Correct.
Good. Okay. And what happened when you asked for the keys back?
She denied me the keys and said that...
What did she say?
She had more stuff inside the house. She wanted to move out. Her keys were then sitting on top of her purse. I pulled them out, and that's when Destiny grabbed for the keys back, and I refused to...
Give them back.
Give them back.
Go ahead.
Destiny did scratch my arm. I had scratches on my arm, and that is in the police report. However, the police report would not be released to me.
Just listen to me. After you grabbed the keys, by the way, whose name is on the lease?
Mine.
And she had moved out when?
She moved out in July.
She moved out in July. She was still coming around in April?
Yes.
Is that right?
No.
When did you move out?
I moved out of the apartment in April.
When did you stop sleeping there?
April.
Is that right?
Yes.
I thought you said she moved out in July.
It was the end of July, beginning of April. June.
Mr. Mealy, you want to go over the months again?
I have my months confused.
So you had not been sleeping in the apartment. You already broke up.
Yes.
Is that right? And you moved out, and you moved in with your mother.
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You told the police that he probably scratched himself to get you in trouble.
I wasn't sure.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Destiny Arnold claims the father of her child, Nicholas Mealy, owes for car repair costs and a cell phone bill. Nicholas is countersuing, claiming Destiny had him falsely arrested for domestic violence.
Now, when you had this argument over the keys, you say that she scratched you.
Yes.
Did you touch her?
I pushed her hands away off of scratching me, yes.
Who called the police?
I did. We both did.
Who called the police first?
I did.
And where was she when you called the police?
She was outside, standing by her car.
How did you get outside?
When he ripped my purse from my hands to get my keys, I told him I was going to call the police. I ran to the next door neighbor and nobody was home. When I ran back into his apartment to grab my purse off the counter where he had put it, he was on the phone with the police telling them that I was hitting him and pushing him. So I grabbed my purse and my phone and I walked outside to the parking lot and I called the police.
So he called the police first?
Yes.
Did you have any bruises on you?
No, ma'am.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. What happened, Miss Arnold, when you went to the neighbor's house?
Nobody was home.
What did you go to the neighbor's house for?
To call the police. He had taken my phone and my purse from me.
What were you calling the police about?
He had ripped my purse from me. And
So you were calling the police because he took your purse?
Yes.
Miss Arnold, you weren't honest with the police.
Yes, I was.
No, you weren't. According to the police officer, you said that he assaulted you. That's not true.
He ripped...
That's not true.
Okay.
He did not assault you. He did not assault you. He took your purse because he wanted the keys. Not a smart thing to do, but he did not assault you. And the police officer noted scratch marks on him, nothing on you.
Correct.
I have no idea why he was arrested. And you told the police that he probably scratched himself to get you in trouble.
I wasn't sure what had happened. I did not recall touching him at all.
Well, that's going to be an expensive fib and an expensive scratch, Miss Arnold.
I really don't remember touching him.
That's too bad. I believe him.
Okay.
And I believe that it's an unfortunate breakup. She used her influence with the dealership to change the title to a car, which she knew you had an interest in. According to the police, she acknowledged to the police that she destroyed the sales agreement, which listed you as a co-owner of the car, and had the papers changed because that was what the dispute was about. You know, if things don't work out, Miss Arnold, they don't work out. But you're supposed to be fair and reasonable. I don't think you were fair and reasonable at all. So that's going to cost you. So I don't even have to deal with your claim. You're not supposed to make false reports about people. There's no question in my mind that if he had assaulted you and you went to a neighbor's house because you wanted your pocketbook back, if he had assaulted you, you would not have gone back into the apartment. You would have gone yet to another neighbor. But certainly if one is in fear of their life or their physical situation, they don't go back to the same environment. They leave. You chose not to do that. You chose to go back, which suggests to me you weren't in fear. You knew he wasn't going to hit you. You knew he wasn't going to put his hands on you. Yeah. And the only reason, put your hand down, and the only reason you called the police is because when you came into the apartment, he was on the phone with the police.
He is an abusive man. He has taped the binky into our daughter's mouth. My mom had seen him push
Listen to me. Stop making up stories. Sounds to me as if however old you are, how old are you, 20?
18.
18. Well, you already have a baby with one man. You moved in with your mother. Now you moved into another apartment with yet a new boyfriend. Sounds to me your life is going in a downward spiral. I suggest you fix it.
Okay.
Judgment on the counterclaim for the amount of $2,000. Your claim is subsumed by the counterclaim, which means it's taken care of by the counterclaim. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. May step out.
He will not see her. He will not have any contact with her.
They can say what they want and lie about what they want.
I will be going to get full custody.
Those are just comments.
And I know he will never see his child again.
I plan.
All parties in the matter of Torres versus Briley. Step forward.
Music producer Clifton Torres is suing the mother of his children, Brandy Briley, for destroying his music equipment. Brandy claims the equipment was broken prior to the incident in question.
Mr. Torres, you and Miss Briley had a relationship, according to what I read, and I assume that you lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that a year ago she ruined some of your musical equipment. You want her to pay so that you can purchase new equipment.
That's correct.
Ms. Briley said that while the equipment that you are complaining about was in fact tossed over during this altercation, the altercation occurred because you pushed her and the equipment wasn't working so well to begin with. You have children?
Yes, 2.
Are they your children together?
Yes.
How old are they?
2 and 5.
Who do they live with?
They live with me.
And how long have they lived with you? Alone?
Alone?
Without the defendant?
I guess approximately a year, maybe a little less.
Did they live with you, Mr. Torres, pursuant to a court order?
Yes.
Was there a contested custody proceeding?
No.
Ms. Briley agreed for you to care for the children.
Correct.
Now tell me the date of this incident with your music equipment, please.
It was November 21st, and I came home from work. It was 5:30.
What kind of work were you doing?
At the time, I was working at a construction warehouse.
Could you keep your voice up, Mr. Torres?
I was working at a construction warehouse, and I came home at like about 5:30, and we had gotten into an argument.
About what?
Just about living arrangements, personal stuff, you know. We just had a lot of, disagreements about things.
Okay.
And the verbal argument turned kind of physical, pushing and shoving and whatnot. And as I left to leave, that's when the equipment was damaged. As I turned, because I was just trying to leave. As I turned to leave, I heard a smash on the floor. I turned around, and my equipment was on the floor, destroyed.
But it did not fall as a result of the altercation.
No, it happened after the altercation.
It happened when
Directly
you were exiting.
after. As I'm trying to leave, that's when it happened.
All right, Miss Briley, tell me about it.
Basically, he came home, we got in a disagreement.
You remember what the disagreement was about?
Our living arrangements and personal problems.
What does that mean?
We were just disagreeing on lots of different things. Like, for the most part, it was our living arrangements. But as he pushes me back because he doesn't want to listen to what I have to say.
Well, he's coming home from work. You're home all day. Is
yes,
that right?
Yes.
You're home all day with 2 children.
Yes.
2 very small children,
yes.
right? Did you ever have any drug or alcohol problem?
No.
Never?
No.
You hesitated for a moment.
Well, I have drank before, but I've never had a problem with it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, he pushes me back. I go to get my balance on the stand where the MPC equipment was, and it goes to slide off. And I did help it go to the ground. Like, I didn't try and catch it or anything, but my main argument is it was already broken before any of that ever happened.
Tell me about it already being broken before.
Well, as you know, I stay at home every day, so I did all the cleaning, and it had been in the box for a period of time. And I know he said he wasn't using it for a while, so I would assume it wasn't working.
Well, you can't make any assumptions, so you don't know that it wasn't working.
From what I understood from him, it wasn't.
Did you ever tell her the equipment wasn't working?
No, I have a picture of the equipment. It was actually in the box. I have a picture of the box.
Can I see it, please?
It's basically a piece of equipment that's used in the preliminary stages of music production. It basically makes the outlining beat, and from there it goes into a computer.
So what she's telling me, sir, is that she actually did break the equipment, because that's what she said in so many words. She said, well, it started to fall and I sort of helped it. What kind of work do you do, Miss Briley?
I work with the developmentally disabled at a day treatment program.
How much money do you earn?
Is that relevant?
Yes. Anything I ask is relevant.
How would you like it then? Weekly?
Weekly,
hourly,
bi-weekly, however
monthly?
you're paid.
I make about $2,000 a month after taxes.
How much do you pay in child support?
Currently, I don't pay child support. I assist with getting their needs. Like, I went school shopping for my son. I help buy diapers.
Mr. Torres?
Yes.
You are the full-time custodial parent of these children?
That's correct.
You're supposed to collect child support for them. Do you understand that, sir?
Your Honor, when we made the agreement for custody or whatnot, there was a verbal agreement, basically, that she was going to help out in certain things, and I wasn't supposed to receive child support for 6 months, so...
6 months has now passed, sir.
Right. It was a couple months before we got into court, before we made that agreement, almost 6 months since then, so it hasn't been exactly 6 months.
Well, what I'm telling you, Mr. Torres, is it is not your right to have a support order fixed for your children.
Right.
It is the children's right to have a child support order fixed for them.
Right.
Support order.
I'm in the process. I go back on the 28th. We go back to court, so...
Fine.
I'm in the process of doing that.
Do you have a bill for this equipment, sir?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
I actually have I'll just give this all to you. I have a police report, and I have, I don't have the receipt because it was purchased in about 2001. I do have an ad for the same exact equipment. It's pretty much almost exactly identical.
Let me see it.
You'll be able to see that for yourself. I brought it to get looked at a shop, and they basically rendered it, irreparable because the motherboard, the internal CPU board is cracked due to the fall.
Did you get a protective order, Mr. Torres?
I had one at one time, but it was disengaged.
Was it as a result of this?
No, it was something that happened prior to, before that.
How much did you pay for the equipment, sir?
$2,400.
Well, you can replace it for $1,700, correct?
That's correct. That's not exactly the identical model because
May not be, but
a
it's
vintage
also
model.
5 years ago.
I understand.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all. Step out.
Why is that excused? You may step out.
I think she did the best job she could.
I think it was a fair decision.
Well, I think we'll be pretty civil.
I'm going to be able to, purchase my equipment that gets me back on track.
All parties in the matter of Lahore versus Tatum, step forward, please.
Desiree Loire claims ex-boyfriend Anthony Tatum owes for unpaid rent from their shared apartment. Desiree also says Anthony slashed her comforter and put a hole in the wall.
I have a feeling it's advice time. Miss Loire, this used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you also shared an apartment with him.
Yes.
You claim he owes you a whole bunch of money, dating back to 2005. You do know we're in 2007 now.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Tatum says he owes you nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice-looking couple. How old are you?
21.
And you?
22.
And you moved in together when you were 19 and you were 20.
Correct.
Old enough to sign a contract?
Yes.
Definitely.
So you signed a lease together?
Multiple.
Multiple leases together?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not talking about all the leases you signed together. I'm talking about the last one after you moved out, because that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. And it is claim that you moved out, you owed her rent, you damaged some of her property, and you loaned him money in 2005 for some car insurance. That you don't remember. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at a Japanese restaurant as a bartender.
And you?
I'm a student.
How do you support yourself?
Currently, my parents do, ma'am.
Have you ever supported yourself?
For the past 3 years, yes.
So you just went back to school?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing for the last 3 years?
I was selling cars.
Did you make a living at it?
Very much so.
Why did you decide to go back to school?
I made a life-changing mistake of driving under the influence and lost my license.
That's a reason.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you injure anybody?
No, ma'am.
How long is your license suspended for?
It's no longer suspended. I just can't be picked up by the insurance of a dealership. Therefore, I'm back in school.
Gotcha. Okay. That was life-changing.
Very much. I learned a life lesson.
So I'm going to give you both another one. Don't ever move in with somebody and sign a lease together. Single people who want to try living together should always get an apartment that each of them can afford separately. Isn't that a smart idea?
Absolutely.
So that if it doesn't work out, somebody says, this is my apartment, that was our agreement, you leave, I can pay the rent all by myself. Of course, I understand that by saying this, I will probably lose 40% of the cases that I try each year. But I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the purpose of the common good. Right?
You will not lose a single case.
You know, he says that because nobody's going to listen to me. But if they did listen, there's a certain wisdom in what I say. That way, 2 people wouldn't be homeless, 2 people wouldn't have their credit in the toilet, 2 people would not have to go back to mama or whatever. You would be able to separate and say, it didn't work out. So you signed this lease together when?
In September of 2005.
And when did you move out, sir?
October 30th of 2005.
Are you still living in the apartment?
No, I'm not.
When did you move out?
February of 2006.
So you only stayed there for a couple of months?
I was there for 6 months.
November, December, January. You stayed till the end of February?
September to the end of February.
I'm not talking about September. He left in October. Did you pay October's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he did not.
Well, I don't know that. How do I know that? 2 years ago. Let's talk about November, December, and January. 3 months that you lived there that he didn't.
Right.
Who lived with you there for those 3 months?
Nobody. I lived by myself. He refused to sign off the lease, so I was unable to.
You say there was somebody else living in the apartment?
Yes, ma'am. Her friend Tracy, who is also my friend, and her witness's friend moved in at the beginning of November.
How do you know that, sir?
Because I went over there and she was living there.
You went over there when?
To get the rest of my stuff at the beginning of November.
How do you know she was living there?
Because my friend was her boyfriend at the time and he was also going over there.
That's completely untrue.
Did she stay there?
She stayed there occasionally. If we would.
How occasionally?
A couple nights a week. If we went out, she'd stay over. But no, she did not pay rent. None of her things were there.
Well, you should have. How to pay rent? How many bedrooms in this apartment?
1.
Where did she sleep when she stayed over?
In my bed.
So?
Well, I don't think someone who stays 2 nights a week should have to pay rent.
Why not?
I guess.
Was it your agreement with him to move out?
I asked him to move out, yes, because
then you pay the rent.
Not paying rent.
Then you pay the rent.
Well, he should have signed off the lease, which he refused to.
And what did you do?
I couldn't do anything. He wouldn't sign off the lease. He kept threatening to come back and get the copies of the keys so he could come in and...
Madam, where were you the last 2 years?
The last 2 years, I've had my own apartment and house, and I've working and going to school.
I mean, but where were you in the last 2 years? If you moved out in 2006, now we're talking about a year ago.
Yes.
Where were you in this last year?
I was trying to collect money from him, but...
But he weren't collecting. He didn't give you any money.
Exactly. I couldn't.
Well, then why didn't you sue him in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December? Why?
I was trying to be understanding of his situation with his car and everything like that, and he couldn't hold a job, so there's no way that he could give me any money.
What made you stop being understanding?
Well, because I'm just tired. It's ridiculous.
You lived in the apartment with sometimes Tracy? You pay the rent. What else?
He damaged my property, my couch, and stabbed my comforter.
Forget the comforter. I'm not interested in the 2-year-old comforter. How did he damage your couch?
He poured beer and dip spit all over it.
When?
On November 21st.
That's not true, ma'am.
You have a witness to that?
I do.
Go ahead.
On the day of November 21st, Desiree called me crying. I got over there. There was a gigantic hole in the wall when I walked in. The entire living room was trashed, stuff everywhere, food thrown around.
Where was he?
He was nowhere to be found.
Well, so you didn't see him do anything?
He was there that morning.
He was there that morning.
Just a second. You didn't see him do anything?
No, I didn't see him do anything, but the people that had stayed the night prior to that had seen him come over in the morning.
Goodbye. Thank you. You have that Mr. Tatum was the cause of any damage to your property.
Well, because he called me screaming after he did it.
What did he say?
I can't believe you had those guys stay the night.
What guys is he talking about?
We had been drinking at my apartment. I had friends stay the night.
How many friends?
2. They had slept on the couch. And that's when he came over that morning to get his things.
Yes.
And he freaked out.
How do you know that?
Well, because they told me they were there. And then he came in with a tire iron and hit the wall.
What?
And poured everything on my couch.
You have absolutely no proof that he did any of that. And if you have 2 friends that you allowed to sleep at your house after they were drinking who witnessed him do it...
They didn't witness him do it. They witnessed him come in and make a scene, and then they left, and then he came back after that. He told me. I talked to him on the phone afterwards.
Did you ever acknowledge to her
No,
that
ma'am.
you destroyed her property?
No, ma'am.
Time to move on. Time to move on and get over it. Do you understand?
Yes.
This is a court. Not nonsense. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Happy how everything went today. I'm glad to be able to put this in my past and move on.
Made 2 loans to your wife. You want those 2 loans repaid.
Yes.
You also claim that when she moved out of a house that you own, she took property that did not belong to her.
Correct.
She had been living in a house that you purchased at some point after the divorce in order to give your wife and daughter a home. She had what you term a rent-to-buy situation with the home.
Correct.
She was supposed to make the payments on the mortgage. Subsequently, you claimed that she failed to maintain the house. You took possession of the house, and when she moved out, she took property from the house of certain appliances and things that belonged to you.
Correct.
The former wife says that you did, in fact, make 1 loan to her for some bills. That loan was repaid with certain small cash payments and a pool table that she gave you in exchange for the rest of the money. The second loan that you made to her was really not a loan, which was something that had to do with the line of credit that you had on the house. And since now you have the house, it's your problem. And the property that was taken from the house was hers. That's your defense?
Yes.
Okay. When was the first loan and why, Mr. Roadcap?
The first loan was in November of 2005, and it was for $1,855, and it was because she had gotten
Behind in her bills.
behind. She had just resigned from the job that she had.
Did she call you?
Yes.
And what did she say when she called you?
She needed money to catch up on some of the bills and to get the kids Christmas gifts.
What arrangements did you make for repayment?
She had notified me that when she got her tax check back at the first of the year, that she would pay me in full then.
What happened when you got your tax check back, Miss Adams?
That wasn't the agreement at all. The $2,000 that I had borrowed from Daniel, he actually got it from a separate line of credit that he had for a bank that he used, or
I don't make things more complicated than they are. You borrowed $2,000. He says $1,855. You say $2,000.
Those are 2 separate loans, Your Honor.
I'm talking about the $1,855 loan.
The $1,855 came from that home equity line of credit. I paid that every month myself. That was part of our rent-to-own agreement for the house. That was actually my bill. It was never meant to be repaid to him. I paid that $130 a month for as long as I lived in the home.
Just a second. $1,855 in November of 2005. And you say that you totally paid for that loan from your home equity line of credit.
Completely paid for. I paid it, well, I paid 7 payments. He knows of 5 payments I paid on it. So he's actually asking for $1,833 when he knows that I paid at least 5 of those payments already.
Well, just show me.
I don't have that with me.
Well, this is where you need it, madam. This is where you need it. This is court. This is what you're coming for. All you have to do is show me that after November 5th, on this revolving line of credit that you had, you made payments. Show me.
If he has, I don't know.
Not he, your check.
Well, there should be some kind of proof to saying when is the last payment I paid in the house.
Miss Adams.
I don't have that.
Miss Adams, all I want are your checks.
I don't have it with me.
Well, it's unfortunate. $1,855. When was the next loan?
That was at the end of November, which was 11/28, and that was $2,000.
What was that for?
That was, I didn't have the money all at once, so I had to isolate and get 2 different loans. Here's the copies of the checks.
She acknowledges that you gave her that money. $3,855. How much was repaid?
She made $80. She made December and January, so it was 2 payments made on the $80, and the home equity line of credit was late January, February, and not at all in March, and she tried to make it again late in April, and it was too late then. By then, the home equity line of credit was already, she defaulted.
She made 2 payments. Is that correct?
On the $2,000, yes, ma'am.
What about on the $1,855?
She made 3 payments.
So that's
within,
5 altogether of
yes,
$160.
ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, what else?
At the time, we had a property agreement that she had to rent to own. She defaulted on her contract, so at that time, I took over the payments, and she had till June the 1st to get the house and everything in her name, and she did not do that. So July the 1st, she had to move out, which I asked her if she didn't want to move out, she could have rented it, but she chose not to. At that point, she left July the 1st, and she left the house like this.
Can I see it, please?
I took 8 truckloads of trash out of the house. It is a...
There was nothing left in the house when I moved out of the house.
Including the refrigerator and stuff.
How many children do you have, Miss
I have 3
Adams?
children.
Only one of them is yours?
Correct.
How old are the other 2 children?
My oldest will be 13 this month, and I have a 10-year-old son.
Are they living with you?
Not at this time.
Who do they live with?
Well, my oldest daughter, for about 6 months now, has lived with her father in California. And, my son, I guess he is with my mom since Daniel took the house.
Okay, the house is a mess. Who bought the appliances?
I did. Here's the receipts for them. I
Your
have
Honor.
2 receipts.
Can I see the
I have 2 receipts because I can't measure, and I had to take one refrigerator back. It didn't fit. So I have
And Your
a
Honor,
glass top stove.
I also have a copy here of the refrigerator I purchased when I bought the house. The house was brand new. It didn't have appliances in it when I first bought it, or got it from him. And
It had no
I had
appliances.
to purchase those things.
Just a second. It had no appliances. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it didn't have refrigerators. It did have a stove, which was accidentally taken from the movers on the last day. I've mentioned to Daniel that he can go get it. It's in the storage building. He doesn't want that. He'd much rather keep me in court over and over again.
Just a second. Why did you take the stove if you didn't buy it?
I had told the movers, it was just some friends of mine, I wasn't there that day, I told them to go get the refrigerators and the washer and dryer, and they just took the stove.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yes, and I have it, and I've told him he can go get it.
He doesn't have to go get it. Why should he have to go through the expense of going to get it?
It's right there in town, where, like, just a couple blocks from where I live.
Well,
He
then
has a
you
big
go-
truck, I don't,
then you-
and he and I was friends this whole time, and until May, when I got married, Daniel and I was friends. All these agreements was made with us being friends. That's why I don't have documentation of this and that and this and that.
Well, what happened, Miss Adams, is that you got married in May and planned to move daughter and his daughter to another state.
My husband's in the military.
I don't care whether he is in the military or he's in the circus. You can't take his child away.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't want to discuss with me why you, who have 3 children, don't have any of them living with you, do you? And it's not because he took your house away.
And later today,
Alcohol basically has ruined...
wife Dorothy Adams owes for loans and for taking his property from their shared home. Dorothy says Daniel is angry over her new marriage.
When did you tell him that you were planning to move to Georgia? When did she tell you?
About May 2nd.
And when was the move going to take place?
I had no idea. It was very discreet.
When was the move to take place?
Well, my husband's
No,
still
just give me a date.
It'll be after January of this year before I could even possibly move. He's still in AIT.
When were you planning to move?
That's what I gave him, an indefinite, like way back, like several months from then.
Is that right?
Mm.
What did she tell you?
I had no idea she was in a separate relationship, and they broke up
Look at me.
April 24th.
Yeah.
At May 15th, she was married to another guy I had never met, my daughter had never met, and she said that she was going to be moving out of state.
Your Honor, the reason why Daniel didn't know of my new marriage and of my expectations and what I was planning on getting from that is because of these. These are his legal records showing that Daniel is not Mr. Sweet Kind, here, let me help you out here. He's got assault and battery. He's got shoot and throw missiles at an occupied vehicle.
I don't care, madam. Listen to me. It has nothing to do with this. You don't want to discuss with me why you, who have 3 children, don't have any of them living with you, do you?
No, but this is why I wanted to get out of the state.
Listen to me. And it's not because he took your house away. I mean, if you have 3 children, somebody takes your house away, you don't let your children go someplace else with your mother, with their other father. You go to a shelter someplace. You get a job and you get an apartment. So we don't have to go into history. The only issue that I have before me is whether you owe him this money and whether you took the refrigerator and the stoves that he purchased. And why, after what apparently was a reasonable period between the 2 of you having been divorced, he had a house, you were in the house with your 3 children, you needed money, you called him, he loaned you money. Problem was when you married somebody that he didn't know and you told him you're taking your kids and you're moving hundreds of miles away. And he said, what, are you crazy? You're not going to take my daughter. You may take your other 2 children. Their fathers may not care, but you're not taking my daughter away. And then you got angry, and you left the house like a trash bin, and you took property that didn't belong to you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Until I come up with something, you know, concrete against him.
She hit a curb and blew out a tire, and the transmission went out.
And Ms. Swartz says that she had an unfortunate accident and that she might clearly be responsible for replacing a tire, but certainly not the transmission, since she had your permission and this accident was clearly not her fault.
Well, she did not have my permission.
Good. When was this party that you had?
A couple of months ago. It was a Friday night. It was at my house, and
Listen, Mr. Pinette, how old are you, sir?
23.
What do you do for a living?
I am a market analyst.
Ever been to court before, sir?
No, except for traffic tickets and...
Well, that's court. So, if you're a plaintiff and you have a claim, first thing you figure out is what date.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because the questions get harder after that, Mr. Panett. So, a couple of months ago on a Friday night isn't a date.
I believe the date was December 14th, Your Honor.
That's a date. Now, it was on December 14th, 2006. Where were you?
At my house.
Who else was there?
I don't know the exact names, but a bunch of my friends.
And what were you all doing?
Drinking, watching TV, listening to music.
Great. Having a good time. Being responsible.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, I didn't keep track of everybody around that night. I went to bed maybe around 1 or 2, and the next morning, Stacy called me and said that my car was broken down. I said, you know, how could that be? It should be in front of my house. And she said she was in Sunrise, which is about 20 miles away.
Where do you live?
Downtown Sacramento.
Go ahead.
She said it was broken down. She explained to me that she had taken my car the night before and that it had broken down the night before and that she had spent the night and was calling me in the morning. And I was...
Spent the night where?
At one of her friend's house, I assume.
Okay.
And I explained to her that she had better get my car back to me.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a Nissan Sentra.
Year?
1997. And she said she would. We exchanged words. I was a little upset, and then I fell back asleep. I didn't get my car back until the next day. She had it towed back to my house. At first, she hadn't even told me that a tire had blown out. I did see that for myself when it came to my house. Then she explained that to me. I had not given her permission to drive the car, so I was very upset. Okay.
Don't repeat anything.
Okay.
I have other things to do. Are you finished?
She had told me that she would pay for all damages. She was very apologetic at first, and I felt, you know, like I would forgive her. I had it diagnosed, and she refused to pay it. She says she's not responsible for that.
And when you had it diagnosed, what was the bill?
It was $1,500, $1,593 and 83 cents. I'd originally said $1,600. It's I'd rounded when I looked at the receipt. It's actually $6.17 less than that.
Mr. Panett, how did you pay for this?
My father loaned me the money to pay for it, actually.
Did you pay for it in check or cash, sir?
I believe my father used his credit card to pay for it, and I had to pay my father back.
What's your father's name?
John Panett.
His phone number?
It's in my cell phone. I'm sorry.
Fred, would you please get his cell phone so that we can get the father's number, please? Thank you. And he's going to verify that he paid this bill, sir?
Yes,
when I
he
call
would.
him on the phone? Good. We're going to do that.
Okay.
In a minute.
Okay.
Now, I'll hear you, Miss Swartz.
On December 14th, I was hanging out at Kip's house, and I asked him if I could borrow his car to go over to Jessica's house.
Where does Jessica live?
A few blocks from his house.
And he said?
He said yes, he let me borrow it.
Good. So you understand, Miss Swartz,
That's a different place than she was. Excuse me, Your Honor.
You do understand, madam, that you did have limited authority to take his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away. You understand that?
Yes. Yeah.
Now tell me what happened.
I drove over to Jessica's house and told her that I was using Kip's car, and she called me at 5 o'clock in the morning and woke me up.
At Jessica's house?
Yes. And told me she was drunk and stranded. So I didn't even think to call Kip and ask permission because he let me borrow his car. He knew I wasn't...
No, my dear.
He knew I wasn't going to bring it back until the morning. So I...
Darling!
Yes.
You get it now? You look as if you're smart enough to get where I'm going.
Yes, ma'am.
You went to pick up your friend in Sunrise. And how far is Sunrise from Jessica's house?
Approximately 20 miles.
20?
Miles.
Miles, not blocks. Miles. And it was coming back with her, this drunken friend of yours, that you had the accident.
Yes.
Now tell me about the accident.
I was just driving and I was coasting, so I was in neutral. And then I tried to put it into gear and it would not go into gear. And I went to park immediately and I hit the curb and popped the tire. That was probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
You must have hit the curb very hard.
Well, yes, it was hard enough to pop the tire. And I immediately changed the tire. And since it was about 5:30 in the morning, my friend that I picked up just walked to her house because we were about a block away. and I slept in the car and called Kip about 9 o'clock in the morning to tell him that I was going to get his car towed back to him.
Let us assume that I believe you, that Mr. Panett said that you could borrow his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away, to stay over. When you exceeded his permission by going 20 miles away the next day, you no longer had his permission. Do you understand that?
But he knew I was going to have it till the morning.
Don't tell me what he knew. He gave you permission, according to you, to drive it a few blocks. A few blocks is not 20 miles.
I have my witness here that saw him give me permission.
I just said, don't you have your listening ears on? I said, if I believe you, he gave you permission to take it a few blocks away. Once you took it 20 miles away, you no longer had permission.
Your Honor, he lets me borrow the car all the time.
That's not true.
Just a second. Where do you think you are?
Right here.
Where is here?
In this witness chair.
And until you stand up there, what are you supposed to do?
Listen to you.
Right. Once you exceeded the scope of the permission, you no longer had permission. That's the law. Do you understand it?
Yes.
So all I have to do is deal with the issue of damages. And for that, you're going to give me John's cell phone.
Yes, ma'am. Just let me power it up.
Power it up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What a nice father you have, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you know what he doesn't remember?
What?
He doesn't remember you paying him back.
And later today.
What were you doing for the last 3 years?
I was selling cars.
Why did you decide to go back to school?
I made a life-changing mistake of driving under the influence and lost my license.
That was life-changing.
Very much.
Judge Judy. Kenneth Kip Panett claims former friend Stacy Schwartz took his car without permission and damaged it. Kenneth says Stacy not only ruined the transmission and clutch, but she also popped one of his tires.
John Panett, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Do you have a moment for just a couple of quick questions for me? I'm here, as you know, trying a case involving your son and this young woman who took his car without permission. Are you familiar with that? Okay. Did he ever ask you for any money to help him repair this car? When was that? 3 months ago. Do you remember how much it cost you, sir? Approximately. And did you use your credit card? Did he pay you back that money? I know, I have children. Did he tell you how it happened? Did he need a new transmission? Was he driving the car? Okay. Very good. And you used a credit card? Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you taking the time. Bye-bye now. What a nice father you have, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And as a matter of fact, your father does remember helping you out and paying for this transmission a few months ago.
That's correct.
Do you know what he doesn't remember?
What?
He doesn't remember you paying him back.
Well, I owe him money pretty much all the time, and I am always paying him. So I'm in the process
that he
of
doesn't
paying him.
remember. I mean, he does remember laying this money out for you, but he doesn't remember the fact that you paid him.
I have not fully paid him back, Your Honor. I apologize.
Well, how much have you paid him, sir?
Well, I owe him a total of quite a bit more than that. So I guess if you got down to that bill, I haven't paid him any because I'm paying him for things that I owe him.
Well, you have no objection to making the check payable to your father, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,593.83 to be made payable to John Panett. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
It may take time, but we probably will be friends again.
Well, now that it's all been paid for,
All parties in the matter of Ernest versus Kennedy, step forward, please.
Karen Ernest is suing her nephew, 26-year-old Nicholas Kennedy, for a loan to get his Mustang fixed.
Mr. Kennedy, this is your aunt?
Yes.
That's your mother's sister?
Yes.
Parents are dead?
Yes.
Your aunt tells me that you inherited a lot of money.
I inherited a trust fund from my grandmother when she passed away.
You still have the money?
My aunt is in control of my trust fund, yes.
How old are you?
26.
How much money do you get from the trust fund?
There was a total of $50,000.
So how much income do you get from that every year?
I actually do not know, Judge. My aunt is in full control of it. She's the trustee of the trust fund until I'm 35.
Well, there has to be income that's paid out periodically. How much income is paid out to him?
Judge Judy, due to financial issues with Nicholas over the past few years, before the passing of his grandmother, I sat down with her and her attorney, and we came up with an idea that the only way that Nicholas will ever have any money in the future was to set the age limit of 35 for him to get the money.
And the income is reinvested?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this is what the case is about. I just have to get a little bit of a picture of the family. You don't mind, Miss Ernest, do you?
No, Judge.
Because one gets the sense from reading these papers that you adored him, and he disappointed you. You made him, according to you, a loan to have his car fixed, and he promised he would pay you back.
Yes.
It was a relatively small loan.
Very small.
So I don't think that it's the money necessarily that's the issue.
You're absolutely right. It's the principle.
Right. And he hasn't paid you back.
Not a dime.
When did you take the money from your aunt to fix the car?
It was in the end of July, beginning of August of 2006.
What was wrong with your car?
The rotors, the heat shield, and the calipers were completely shot, as well as the bearings. It basically sounded like it was a bag of tin cans in the back of my car.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm a blackjack dealer at a casino in central New York.
Do you have a gambling problem?
No.
You have a drug problem?
No.
How long have you been a blackjack dealer?
2 years.
You get paid reasonable money?
Roughly $30,000 a year.
You support anyone other than yourself?
I have my daughter to support, yes.
How old is she?
2 years old.
Does she live with you?
No.
How much do you send her for support?
3.
Current?
Yes.
Do they take it out of your pay?
Yes.
Ah, that's why you're current. Good. So how come you were in such dire straits that you needed money from your aunt?
At the time, my wife and I were talking about a separation, and I spoke with my aunt. My aunt has a great deal of dislike for my wife, and she was very happy at the sound of my wife and I separating. At the time, I was...
Does she dislike her because of things that you've told her about your wife?
No.
She just decided that you didn't like her on her own?
Yeah, so I believe something happened way back in the beginning in 2002 when we first got together, and things just kind of escalated from there.
Whose fault was it, without going into the story?
I really don't know. I don't even know all the details myself.
Go ahead. So?
I was in some financial trouble, and...
Why?
I was only working part-time at that point, and I needed some assistance with getting the separation going, and when I spoke to my aunt about the separation, she told me she'd help me in any other way she could possibly help me. And I also
Has she done that before?
Yes, she has.
So she's been supportive of you since you were born?
Correct. And I mentioned to her that I was having car problems, but I didn't have the money to fix my car at that time. She then offered to help me get my car fixed. Not once did she tell me that this was a loan or that I'd have to pay her back, just that she would help me get my car fixed so that I could have it back on the road. It was my only vehicle. My wife had her own vehicle at the time as well.
Now, when did she ask you for the money back, Mr. Kennedy?
Since then, I've only had 1 or 2 conversations with her in 6 months, and about a couple of weeks ago, out of the blue, I got a letter.
When for the first time did she ask you for the money back?
She has not asked me for the money back.
Is that right, Miss Ernest?
Incorrect.
Go ahead.
I made numerous telephone calls to Nicholas, his only cell phone that he had, and he never returned any calls whatsoever.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with him in either July or August.
Initially, I was contacted by Nicholas August 1st, 2006. He says that he has problems with his car. It's the only vehicle he has to get to work, and he can't afford to get it fixed. I told him I want nothing to do with trying to help him anymore because...
Why? Tell me why.
Just so many financial issues in the past. Him and his wife have a bankruptcy already on them, 6 months into the marriage. They just can't rub 2 nickels together. They can't save a dime, and I didn't believe he was going to have any way to pay me back. So it's a lost cause. He begged and pleaded with me that he really needs to have his car fixed. That's the only way he can get to work. During that conversation, he also stated that they were in the process of selling their home and separating, that they were closing the end of August, and he promised, out of the closing of the house, that he would pay me back.
Did you sell your house?
Yes, I did.
When?
It was at the end of August.
How much equity did you have in your house?
We sold just the house, the furniture. We took all the furniture with us, but the house itself sold for $32,000.
That doesn't give me the answer. How much equity did you have in the house? Did you have a mortgage?
No.
So you had $32,000.
Correct.
Where's the money?
We used the money to pay back my wife's car loan, and then the rest of the money we invested into a new apartment for us. Getting new furniture, getting ourselves reset up.
What'd you need new furniture for?
The furniture we had was completely destroyed.
What do you mean it was destroyed? Was there a hurricane?
No, my daughter.
Oh, you mean so it was destroyed by a 2-year-old?
Yeah.
It was destroyed by a 2-year-old. Mr. Kennedy, you sound ridiculous, sir. You sound ridiculous. Does your wife work?
No.
Are you back together again?
No.
When did that change? Yesterday?
We started working on things, and right now it's just kind of a rocky relationship. Right now it's just for my daughter.
So when you bought the new furniture, who moved into this apartment with the new furniture?
We moved in together, and I resided there for 5 days before I moved out.
Something had to happen, Mr. Kennedy. See.
I began seeing one of my coworkers.
Oh, so you sold the house. Whose house was it? Yours, or was it the family house?
It was the money from my inheritance from my mother's passing.
Fine, because I gather from your aunt, which I sort of believe that you can't rub 2 nickels together. So you got a little inheritance, you bought a house. Let me follow this. With the money that you got, you bought a house, you sold the house, you took the $32,000, you paid off your wife's car.
Correct.
How much was that?
$14,000.
Then you bought new furniture because the 2-year-old destroyed the furniture.
Correct.
And you bought new furniture, put it in an apartment, brand new apartment. You spent the rest of the money, $20,000, $18,000, and you bought new furniture, moved into an apartment that you lived in for 5 days because you started fooling around with a coworker.
Correct.
How much was the car payment?
$649.61. Judge Judy, may I get the correct calculations of his inheritance totals?
Yeah, your aunt says that you got a lot more money than that, Mr. Kennedy. She said it was more like about $150,000 that you blew.
She's correct. That was the original inheritance from my mother.
How long ago?
That was back in 2004.
Mr. Kennedy, you have to grow up, sir. Your aunt is finished with you. So your wife is driving around in a brand new car. You are no longer together. Is that so far correct? Are you now with the coworker?
Yes.
Ah, perfect.
I just want to cry, Judge Judy.
Listen,
I love you.
Some grow up, some don't grow up. You have to know the difference between things you can change and things that you can't. That doesn't mean that you don't love him. That means that if he needs a kidney, you may have to give it to him, but if he needs any money, let him get another job. That's easy, you know? I mean, you may have to give him an organ one day because you love him.
I did tell him no multiple times in the conversation on the phone.
Yeah, he can't, you know. I mean, he can't keep tapping into other people to clean up the mess after him. He's 26 years old. In the scheme of things, in a man's life anyway, that's still very young, you know. If they're going to grow up at all, it usually takes about 50 years. And then it's a downhill slide. But he's got a way to go.
His grandma got smart in holding the trust till he's 35 years old.
Because he'll go through 50,000 like water through a goose. Right? Good.
Yes.
Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $649.61. That's all. Thank you.
The family needs to just still stick together no matter what happens. But then again, he shouldn't keep using me as an ATM.
My relationship with my aunt has just gone so far south, and I'd like to repair it at some point.
His ex was simply, obviously, a gold digger.
We just went through it way too fast. We didn't know how to save it. We didn't know how to use it right.
Money's gone, so she. Isn't that funny?
I just hope we can work on our relationship and
friends.
Yes, they used to.
Well, you say that they didn't treat him nicely, and they used him for rides and stuff when they needed him.
Right, Your Honor.
But at some point, according to you, this young man posted some very, very rude things about you.
Right, Your Honor.
On something called MySpace.
Right, Your Honor.
MySpace is one of these internet sites where people who have nothing better to do with their time go and chat about a whole bunch of nonsense.
Right, Your Honor.
Is that about what it is?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that about right?
Right.
That's about right.
You know, I always said that we could eliminate probably 1/3 of the problems in this country if people actually had to shovel coal in a furnace for heat. rather than spending all that spare time that they have making problems for other people and sitting behind their computers doing things other than for which computers were originally designed. Mr. Luna says, First Amendment. I can post anything I like on the internet because there's free speech in this country. That is your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Really?
Yes.
Is that what you think the Constitution says, Mr. Luna?
Well, first of all...
I didn't ask you first of all. That required a yes or a no answer, sir. Is that what you think the Constitution says? That you can say anything you want to about anybody?
On certain grounds, yes. But I believe that I didn't write anything that really damaged her reputation as she claimed.
All right. Well, then let's see what you said, because I had no clue about what you said here. First, Mr. Luna, since there is no issue, sir, that you posted these things about Mrs. Mendelson on this internet site, I'd like to know why you did it.
Okay. Well, it all started when myself is
the same person, I assume, unless you're bipolar.
Me and my friends were talking just online, just joking while we were waiting for our classes. And then we just talked about certain stupid things, I know. And then...
You talked about stupid things while you were waiting for change of classes in college?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, we were online.
Who's paying for your school?
My father.
Your father is paying for you to be in school and talk about stupid things with you? Is that what you think you're paying for, sir?
Not really.
Good, perfect. Love to hear it. You and I are going to get along just fine. Go ahead.
Well, we were just waiting for our classes because I
don't care why you were waiting for your classes. I asked you why you said bad things about Mrs. Mendelson.
Well, it was just to relieve our stress and frustrations.
Why don't you get a job?
Well, I had school. I'm a full-time college student.
Well, then why are you writing about Mrs. Mendelson to relieve your stress?
Because beforehand, she was making comments about us, me and my friends specifically.
Oh, on the internet?
No, like to her son.
So she was having a private conversation with her son about you and your friends?
Yes, and then...
She's allowed to do that?
Yes, but it was very rude and very untrue. And she assumed many things, and she would tell him...
Who cares? Who cares what she assumed? She's having a private conversation with a child. She's not publishing anything. Let me see what you wrote about her.
I have it right here.
Did your father see it?
Yes.
When did you show it to him?
About a month ago.
When did you write it?
October 26th.
So why did you wait so long to show your father?
Well, because, number one, I was trying to handle my own business. And then the month after October 26th, I actually forgot about the conversation, because that is a conversation between me and Derek.
You know what I find most distressing about this, Mr. Luna? Is that you're illiterate, and so is your friend. And that your family is wasting a whole lot of money sending you to college and getting an illiterate person at the end. Mr. Luna?
Can I say something,
Mr. Luna, did you read this?
Yes, Your Honor. I read it lately, Your Honor.
Stand up, sir.
May I say something about the case, Your Honor?
No, you may say nothing about the case, sir. You may answer my questions. First of all, Mrs. Mendelson, I have just read this.
Yes.
Okay? This is not actionable, which means that you can sue, but you're not going to win. What is written here, if I can read it, because it looks like it's written by somebody who was educated in some third world country where they only go up to kindergarten. Watch what W-A-T, you say about her, cuz, C-U-Z. She might come to your house, Y-R, and do crazy, and that's a bad word, I'll leave that out, like castrating you and sewing I'll use a different word, testicles back on backwards and sewing your foot and you with it. Okay? It's stupid. Do you know what? That's what you're complaining about, right?
Yes,
Listen
Your
to me.
Honor.
Listen to me. I didn't know what he had said about you. What he said about you was stupid. Nobody takes it seriously. Nobody's thinking you're going to come to somebody's house and you're going to do that to them. He's just being stupid. So it doesn't even amount to free speech. It amounts to the rantings of some juvenile who's just being dumb. Do you understand?
Yeah. And I was really upset because...
Well, I can understand you were upset, but that's not actionable. Now, was this young man your friend, Mr. Luna?
Yes, we were very close.
You say some bad things about him.
Well, it was jokingly...
Well, it's not an answer, sir. You say if you were very, very close. Why do you say bad things about him in here?
It's friendly banter between us. That's what we do.
Who was bantering here? Not him.
Well, it's between me and...
between you and him.
Yes.
Not you and him. You weren't bantering with each other, calling each other funky names. You were bantering with him, and you were making fun of him. Mr. Luna, that makes you not a very nice person when you say he was a friend of mine.
Yes, but all of us are friends. We do the same things to each other. But
Does he have a car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
No.
Who drove you around?
Well, sometimes Irving drives me around, sometimes my friend recently. But it's not like I'm...
It's not like you're using him or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Irving, stand up next to your mother. Did you ever tell this young man that your mother accused him of using drugs?
Not exactly.
And later today...
You had a court date you don't remember? What kind of court date did you have?
It was actually court for his paternity test.
Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anita Mendelsohn claims her son's former friend, Christian Luna, slandered her on the internet. Christian says he has the right to free speech.
Mr. Luna, your son did a disrespectful thing, but not actionable. So you don't have to worry. He doesn't have to pay Mrs. Mendelsohn any money. I don't know if he's a nice young man or not a nice young man. Only you know that.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
He's a nice young man. In fact, he helped Irving in his religion class, and he's kind of mentoring this guy. I mean, they were friends, Your Honor, and it all started...
Did you read this?
Yeah, I know, I read it. But it all started when Mrs. Mendelsohn tried to blame my son and his friends that they are using drugs.
Yes.
And she's trying to, separate his son from these guys who are nice people. I just don't know why Mrs. Mendelsohn is so mad at my son.
Maybe you want to tell me, Mrs. Mendelsohn?
The truth, Your Honor, is that I never said that they're using drugs. It was a lie. What I told my son is that because I saw a lot of this abuse from Christian sending all those messages against him, and I told my son, stop giving him a ride and transfer to other school. And I didn't mention anything about drugs. You're wrong.
Who told you that Mrs. Mendelsohn accused you of using drugs?
Her son.
He told you?
Yes.
Irving, stand up next to your mother. Did you ever tell this young man that your mother accused him of using drugs?
Not exactly.
What do you mean, not exactly, Irving?
Well, she said that she doesn't want me hanging around people who do drugs.
Okay, so?
And in that sense, that's what I said to Christian.
But she never accused Christian of doing drugs? No. That's your answer, Mr. Luna. What else?
I would just like to clear something out. I didn't use Irving. Don't just randomly call him and like, oh, can you give me a ride to this so-and-so place? I would ask him a ride if we were going there together. But I've never used them just
Christian, I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
Having access to a machine like a computer and access to a place like MySpace where you can say very damaging and hurtful things doesn't mean that you should use it. When you write something like this, even though it sounds asinine, juvenile, and stupid, it was still hurtful to Mrs. Mendelsohn. It's not the kind of thing that the courts will take action about, but it's the kind of things that you shouldn't write about one person because it's just unkind. And you can't hide behind the cloak of anonymity when you do that because it's out there for millions and millions and millions of people to read. And it's hurtful. And I say this to you and to your friends and to you and anybody else who uses the internet. Once you put something down and go send, or whatever you do, because I don't use that machine, it's out there, and it's out there forever, and it's hurtful. You have to be careful. Now, what your son said about her was unkind.
I know that, Your Honor.
Very good. Then you tell him he did the wrong thing? Tell him to apologize to her?
In fact,
say, shh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Mendelsohn.
Okay.
That's it.
Just don't do it again, ever.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I agree with Judge Judy that what I wrote is obscene.
I just hope he will stop the abuse towards my son now.
And I agree that it was offensive.
All parties in the matter of Corville versus Corville. Step forward, please.
Tina Corville is suing her estranged daughter-in-law, Jennifer Corville, for an unpaid loan and car insurance payments. Jennifer says Tina's son is a deadbeat.
This is the son?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your soon-to-be ex-daughter-in-law. It is your claim that while she and your son were living in your home, you made a series of loans to her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Corville says that you made gifts to her because she was the only one working in her family. Your son wasn't working, so she did some car payments made in order to get her back and forth to work, and some insurance payments made on the car. I have a few questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I'm unemployed at the moment.
How long have you been unemployed?
For not that long, because I had a job January 1st whenever I had put her out.
Listen to
because
me. Listen to me. How long have you been unemployed?
Since January 1st.
Of 2007?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to January 1st, 2007, your mother says that you weren't working a good part of the time.
ma'am.
That's what your mother says. Is she lying?
That's true. No, ma'am, that's true.
How long did you have the January job?
Not long, because I didn't even
Just
go.
don't tell me because.
No, ma'am, I hadn't gone offshore. It was an offshore job, and I didn't have a ride to go offshore. That's why I didn't have that job. I hadn't
So
even
you
worked
didn't
one
have
day.
a job?
I had the job. I got hired.
When was the
took-
last time that you got a paycheck, Mr.
I
Corville?
didn't get a paycheck from them because I never worked one day
Mr.
because
Corville,
I
I
didn't have a
want you to
ride.
listen to, put on your listening ear, sir.
Okay.
When was the last time, month and year, that you had a paycheck? Think hard.
2006, and I can't give you the exact month.
Well, give me close to the
Okay.
exact month.
About the 10th month, or maybe even the 9th.
What would that be, the 9th month?
The 9th month
Yeah.
is September. Took me a while.
Good. September. Now, in August, who did you work for?
Pizza Hut,
Doing what?
delivery driver.
How long did that last?
Not long,
Why?
because I was told I couldn't use the car to do it no more. I was putting wear and tear on our car.
Your Honor, that was our car at the time. I was a manager at Pizza Hut.
Listen, you know what kind of sympathy I have for you? Zero. You picked him. And not only did you pick him, but you picked him, and you have a child.
No. Okay. I was just clarifying it.
You know, put your hand down. Sometimes it's better to be alone. Sometimes the loneliest you can be is when you're with somebody.
Yep.
Your son, who is without a job, moves in with you, with his wife and her child.
Yes, ma'am.
How old was he when he left home?
He's been in and out of home since he's 12 years old.
In and out of your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how did you feel about it when he told you he was getting married?
Didn't know the girl long enough.
But she has a job, right?
Yeah, at the time she did have a job, yes, ma'am.
Now, your son had no job at the time.
At the time?
At the time?
At the time he did have a job.
Doing what?
He did sheet metal.
What happened to that job?
He had differences with the guy.
The guy fired me because I asked for a raise.
And what did he say when you asked him for a raise?
He told me he didn't feel that I deserved it, and if I felt like I really needed it, I could go look for a job elsewhere because I no longer had one with him.
No, that's not what he said.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
said, I don't feel as if you deserve it. If you feel as if you deserve more, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, he didn't say that you can't have a job with him. He said, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you went elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Where'd you go?
To Pizza Hut.
Was that paying more than your sheet metal job?
Yes, ma'am.
Nah.
With the tips, yes,
No.
ma'am. Okay.
Now, tell me about this first loan. After they got married, they moved in with you because he's not working, right?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Were they paying rent in your house?
Not at the beginning, no.
Were they paying rent later?
When the second go around, they were going to pay rent. They moved in twice last year.
Fine. Well, the second time they moved in, did they pay rent?
1 month.
How much?
$150.
And who paid the rent?
My son.
What was he doing?
He was working for
Trim.
Newcom.
Yeah.
What happened to that job?
We had went and we had a court date for me and her both to attend to, and we asked the
What kind of court
instructor-
date?
I don't really remember, to be honest with you.
You had a court date you don't remember?
Yes,
What kind of
ma'am.
court date did you have?
It was actually court for his paternity test.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing to do with me.
But
For
we
a
left.
quiet. For a paternity test for what?
His second child.
He has children?
Yes, ma'am.
Wunderbar.
He has two, one for two different women.
Now, how much money in total did you give Miss Corville?
$958.
Tell me what it was for.
In January.
January of what?
Of 2006. She bought a car with her income tax. Didn't have money for the insurance, so I loaned her $200.
Just a second. Tell me about what's that. She didn't have money for the insurance, and she said to you...
She would pay me back.
Did you have that discussion with her or with your son?
With her.
Tell me about the discussion.
She said that she would help us, give us the money because of the fact he was out of work. And she didn't want to see us without a car because if we didn't have a car, we were unable to work.
Was he
And as she
working?
said-
Was he working at the time?
No, ma'am.
Did you subsequently get a job, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you did? Good. Where did you get a job?
That's whenever I went to the electrical company.
And how did you get to the electrical company?
She had brought me a few occasions.
Who did?
Miss Jennifer.
Your wife?
My wife, yes, ma'am.
What's next?
In May, she called me at work crying because she had a payday loan that she had taken before they were married. Crying because she was going to get arrested. Could she please borrow some money?
Is that right?
It is.
Good. How much was that?
$305.
80.
80.
That you owe her. Go ahead.
Then in September the 19th, their ABC insurance canceled, so they had to find new insurance.
They had to find new insurance?
She had to find new insurance.
Where were you working? You told me you were working in September, sir.
Yes, ma'am. That's whenever we were both working at Newcom.
Oh, okay, so you were both working?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were using her car to get there?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, good. Perfect.
So I paid her down payment for $155.
That's
for
fine.
the Geico.
That ensures that your son is working.
She was short $100 because they both lost their jobs. She was short $100, so to keep her car, I put the $100 difference in pay that she would pay me find another job.
Why'd you get him to pay you some money?
It wasn't his car.
He was using it. They were a married couple.
No,
listen. Miss Corville,
I had lost
your son
3
put her
jobs.
out of the house when?
January 1st, 2007. Why?
What was my question?
I couldn't use the car to go find a job, nothing. She had stopped letting me use the car, everything. That was her
Really?
car.
And you had been using the car to go and look for a job?
No, ma'am.
Well, you said she stopped.
Yeah, like she hadn't let me. And within 3 months since we had been back over there, I had got a job and went to Houma. That was the only time.
So that's why you threw her out?
Yes, ma'am, because I was supposed to be leaving to go offshore and she wouldn't bring me.
Go ahead.
He didn't get a job in Houma. He actually went to Houma to get a job. He failed his drug test, and he was unable to work offshore. So he actually didn't
What
work.
kind of drugs were you taking that you failed the drug test?
None.
You mean that the test was a mistake?
No, ma'am, I was going offshore.
So you didn't fail the drug
No,
test?
ma'am.
Would you like to take one today?
Doesn't matter.
She owes you for the payday loan. That she owes you for the car. Consider it a contribution to your son. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $305.80. That's all. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hope I did hear the end of it. Judge Judy sure did fill me with some justice.
If that's what she wants to believe, let her live in her land. I don't care.
And I hope that I never hear from these people again.
Tothpals say that 7 weeks after adopting their newborn baby, the birth mother, 36-year-old Debbie Kay, changed her mind and took her daughter back. The Tothpals say they were heartbroken and devastated after losing the child they grew to love as their own. They're suing to recoup adoption costs from Debbie Kay and her boyfriend, Phil Francis.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 311 on the calendar in the matter of Tothpal versus K. Francis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Tothpal, I've read your complaint, and I am most sympathetic because, as an old family court judge, this is not the first time that I've seen a failed adoption. According to your papers, you and your husband wished to adopt a child, and you were put in touch with the defendants, who, for reasons which I'm sure they will tell me, were prepared to relinquish the baby that the defendant was carrying to you, and you agreed to pay certain of her expenses for the last trimester of her pregnancy. So far, is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that correct? You did, in fact, make those payments. They were $1,500 a month to cover your expenses, medical bills, rent, whatever, during the course of the last trimester. And then the baby was born, a little girl, I believe, correct?
Right.
So you want to tell me what happened?
Well, we had entered into an adoption plan, as you've said. She was born. We were present at the birth. I was present at the birth with my mother. I assisted in the birth. And
in the delivery room?
In the delivery room, yes. The next day, we came back to pick up the baby to take her home. We met with the social workers, and they agreed to sign a placement agreement, which they signed. We took the baby home, and we had her in our home for 7 weeks. We have 2 children of our own. We're very grateful that we have them. We feel very fortunate.
How old are they?
9 and 7. We bonded with the baby for 7 weeks.
Had you been trying to have a third child?
No. 5 years ago, I had uterine cancer and a hysterectomy, so I'm no longer able to have any more children. But we wanted to open our home up again to another child. He had always wanted to have more children, and this was just something we wanted to do. And which is why we chose adoption. We originally got involved in a surrogate program, but just got discouraged due to the success rate, and also because I had a lot of chemotherapy. And we didn't know the effect of the medication on my body, so we decided to adopt instead. And anyway, we had her for 7 weeks, and then they took her back. They took our baby back. I have photographs to show you. We bonded with her, we had her, and we were very devastated.
When did you know that there was difficulty?
We didn't know until she was born August 11th. We didn't know until mid-September.
What happened in mid-September?
We had a call from our attorney handling the adoption that apparently Debbie had sent them a letter stating that she was interested in possibly getting the baby back, but didn't say in so many words that she wanted the baby back. Basically beat around the bush. And he told us about this letter. We have never seen a copy of the letter. That was mid-September, and on September 30th, the morning of September 30th, I needed to bring her back.
How did that come about?
Well, there was a lot of talk for the tail end of the last 2 weeks of September. Phone conversations I was having between the social worker who was handling our case, phone conversations between myself and the attorney. She never really came out and told anybody she wanted the baby back. She never called me until the end of September, the 29th of September, was when I received a personal call from the birth mother stating that she wanted her back. And she said to me that she would like to meet me at a location, and she was going to call the attorney's office and let them know, make them aware of the fact that this is what was going to be happening. I was completely devastated. I was breaking down on the telephone. This wasn't, I mean, we had bonded with this baby. We had grown to love her. Our children had grown to love her. It wasn't as if she changed her mind, you know, the day that she was born. This baby was becoming attached to us. She was developing a personality. We were bonding with her.
There were some legal documents that had to be signed after the placement agreement, because that's what usually happens.
Right.
And that's what we call a surrender document. You're familiar with that?
The only papers they told me that I needed to sign if I wanted to was to waive my rights for the 90 days.
That's what I'm talking about. And you did not sign those.
Right.
Am I correct?
Is this the waiver? You're talking about the waiver?
I'm talking
Yes.
about the waiver.
Right. No, I never signed those.
But you were asked to sign the waiver.
I was asked to sign those many times.
Many times. Well, we'll get to that in a moment.
She had also agreed to sign it in the hospital.
Are you two married?
No.
Your Honor.
But you live together?
Right.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you been living together?
5 years.
Yeah.
We have a 4-year-old together.
And how many other children do you have?
We have 4 besides the baby. We have 5.
And what made you decide that you thought it was in the child's best interest, since I assume that that was your motivation, to place this child for adoption?
Well, neither one of us was working at the time, Your Honor.
We were just having a really bad time, and we neither one had a job, and
We just thought it would be the best for the baby.
because we couldn't provide really well for our own children and this one, and it was just very, you know, hard.
It was
a very
difficult
hard decision. It wasn't something that was easy. It was heartbreaking. It was very hard.
I'm sure it was. But you decided to do it.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
2 days after the baby was born, we received a call from our attorney's office stating that they wanted $720 in lieu of an epidural so they could take their other children to Disneyland.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Heartbroken parents, Jennifer and Peter Tothpaul, are suing Debbie Kay, the birth mother of the baby they adopted. The Tothpauls say 7 weeks after they took the newborn home, Debbie and her boyfriend Phil changed their minds and demanded their child back. They're suing to recoup adoption costs.
So let's get to the reason you changed your mind and when you did.
There was just many reasons. There was many reasons because, well, one reason is because I wanted her. You know, it was devastating for me to give her up. You know, when your baby's born, you cry because you're happy. I cried because I was just
I cried because I had to give her
heartbroken.
away.
Right, and it was very hard. And
when, for the first time, did you make the decision that you were going to ask for her back?
It was about a month later. I had.
When? She was born in?
August.
August? And when did you decide to ask, when in your mind did you say, I'm going to ask for her back?
I can't tell you an exact date. I mean, I was going through so much, you know, it's just, in September. I had talked to the agency weeks before, and they never told them anything.
That's
you know,
because
I kept
you told
calling.
them not to tell us.
I did not tell
No,
them.
no, don't talk to each other.
I had talked to the social worker.
Did you have misgivings right after the baby was born in August about whether you were going to go through with this adoption?
No.
Was it a week later? Was it 2 weeks later?
It was about, I don't know, 4 weeks later. There was a lot of things that led up to it, you know, is that we had to go through so many things.
Like what?
Like, we sent all our kids away because we kept it a secret. And that was very, very emotional because I kept hidden. I didn't tell very many people. And just different things. It was just really hard. And they had told us things that, like, he wasn't even present for the birth. And I felt like, you know, she wasn't as important as their own children.
That's not the reason, Debbie, that you changed your mind.
No, that's not the only reason. It was just different things. I was just unsure about what was going on. And I felt, when I talked to everybody at the agencies and the lawyers and everything, they made me feel like I was, you know, less important, or I just felt less significant, you know, and it wasn't as important for them to send me the papers. They made me feel like I was selling her. And that wasn't my intentions at all.
When, for the first time, were you asked to sign the waiver? In the hospital?
Yes.
And you decided not to sign the waiver in the hospital. Can you tell me why? He did.
No, there was something was said like we were going to go out a couple weeks later for lunch or something and sign this paper, this waiver.
You mean you weren't asked to sign the waiver in the hospital?
Yeah, we were.
Sure you were.
Yeah, and we declined it then.
Right. My question to you is, why did you say no, sir, in the hospital?
In case she wanted to get the baby back, because I was fully supporting her in whatever she wanted to do.
So even in the hospital, you weren't sure that you were going to go through with this adoption. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not telling you that at all.
But what you just said to me suggests that that was true, because if at that moment of the child's birth you were totally committed to this adoption, then you would have signed the waiver at the time. Don't speak to him. I understand that you can have a change of heart. My point is, these people are suing for nothing else other than, at this point, $4,500, which is what they gave to you in support for the 3 months that they agreed to. I mean, they can't be compensated for their heartbreak. That doesn't necessarily make you the bad guys, because you're entitled to have a change of heart. That's what the law provides. But my question is, when was the point in time when you had this change of heart? If you were committed to the adoption without reservation, you would have signed the waiver in the hospital at the time that they took the baby home.
We couldn't. We had to do it after. We had to go to this in LA somewhere. That's what we were told.
Because he wasn't there to sign something.
He doesn't have to be there to sign. You have to be there to sign. The waiver is something you have to do.
But they told me I could not sign this in the hospital.
They asked you to do it immediately thereafter, and you put them off.
No, I was going to do it. I had told them I would. And you know that I told them I would.
You never did it. Did you go away on vacation?
I was going to go away, and I never was able to go.
But you told them you were going away on vacation.
Right.
Whether you went or not, you said you couldn't sign the papers. You'll sign them when you come home from vacation, correct?
Right.
So that's
They called me 3 days after the baby was born. They called me 3 days. I didn't want to talk about this. I didn't want to deal with it. You know, it was...
Debbie, I'm not
I did not
faulting
tell
you
them.
for changing your mind, Debbie. I want you to understand that. The law builds that in. But if what you're telling me is 3 days after the baby was born, when the baby is already with the new parents, you're called and said, would you come in so we can sign the papers?
That's not what they didn't call me to say that. They just called me to tell me that he hadn't signed his part of the papers yet, and just to let me know what was going on. That was the only time I ever heard from anybody.
No, that's not true. You knew you had to sign the waiver. Come on, Debbie.
That's not what they said, but they
you
weren't
knew
telling me to do it then.
You knew you had to sign the waiver, and you kept putting it off.
And we had 90 days to do
They
it.
didn't tell me I had to sign it.
I know
They
you
said-
had 90 days to do it, sir. I
Right.
mean, are we understanding each other?
Yeah, totally. I'm not disputing anything. I'm just saying.
You had 90 days. Of course you have 90 days to do it. The idea is if you're committed to doing it,
Right.
then you do it at the earliest possible time, right? And you two folks didn't do that because you had misgivings as to whether you were absolutely positive that you wanted to do it. Is that true?
No.
I don't
it's not.
believe you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that because otherwise you would have done it. And the bottom line is, you did in fact say, I'm not signing the papers, I want the baby back. I'm not faulting you for wanting your baby back. I'm faulting you for taking their payments in September.
And you know,
I'm faulting you for that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know what? She sent her sister to pick up the baby.
I had just started a brand new job. I couldn't just leave.
Talking about your daughter.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer and Peter Tothpal are suing Debbie Kay, the birth mother of their adopted baby, after she demanded they return her child. The heartbroken Tothpals are suing to recover the cost of the adoption.
You took the money in September, even though you had misgivings. That's not fair, because that also says to them, everything is going the way it should be going. We can fall in love with this baby. That's not fair. And what I'm suggesting to you is, they're not the bad guys here. You're not bad either. But you didn't play it 100% straight with them. And it's a shame.
you know, when I talked to her, and I hadn't even made up my mind then, she was very, very mean. She says, I am not a babysitter, and I'm going to call Child Protection Services.
Well, for
and
once.
then, and I hadn't even said anything yet.
Sure,
and after she said, do you want to come to my house and see our home and everything? And I agreed, but that kept going through my mind. How could she be so mean? She's going to call the Child Protection Service on this baby. She's hurting the baby. And then when we did change our mind, and they made it very, very hard for us to get the baby.
You would too. If the circumstances were different, Debbie, you would too.
No, no. She dropped her off. She didn't even tell me what kind of formula she was drinking. She dropped her off in just a diaper and a T-shirt, which, you know what? I didn't even know what kind of formula she was drinking.
Why didn't you ask?
She wasn't there.
Just why didn't you ask the social worker?
The social worker wasn't there either. The social worker was on vacation. The lawyer was the one that was giving us a hard time. He wouldn't even let the father pick her up. He's the one that told us they were going to call child. They made us feel like we were evil, and it was
in
nothing.
In their minds, Debbie, you were evil. First, they hear that you're unable to take care of this infant because you have too many other kids that have to be taken care of. You have no jobs. You have no way of supporting this baby. And so that two people, the two of you, who look like two able-bodied people, had to accept $4,500, $1,500 a month to pay your rent and your food and whatever other expenses you had just to keep you for the last trimester of this baby's birth. And then, after 7 weeks, you say, well, now I want her back. Were you both working? Were you both working at the time you got her back?
I had just started working.
When you got her back. So who was going to take care of the baby?
I had a babysitter.
You know what? She sent her sister to pick up the baby.
That's right, because I just started working.
At work.
I had just started a brand new job. I couldn't just leave.
Talking about your daughter.
And we'd already agreed on this the night before. And she knew the whole situation.
She doesn't know the whole situation, Debbie. You just
no. I told her that
you're not being fair. You can't say that these folks did anything wrong.
I didn't say they were doing anything wrong.
Okay.
Can I mention something else?
Sure.
In lieu of receiving an epidural in the hospital, they wanted money in exchange for that.
But I didn't come up with that.
Please don't speak.
They wanted money in exchange for that. That didn't come from us. We wouldn't make such a suggestion. I told her I wanted her to be comfortable, and we would talk about that after the fact. 2 days after the baby was born, we received a call from our attorney's office stating that they wanted $720 in lieu of an epidural so they could take their other children to Disneyland in San Diego.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know you're heartbroken. Fortunately for you, You can be heartbroken and look at your two kids when you go home.
Right.
You know that.
I'm very grateful for my children. I'm
I'm
very
sure
fortunate.
I'm sure you know other people who have been through the adoption process and the adoptions have failed that don't have the two gifts that you do at home
That's
to go home
right.
and look at. It doesn't make it any easier. Tough lesson, but you understand how hurt they are. All right, the issue is not a difficult one, especially since I believe that you understand it is your moral responsibility to return this money. You had an agreement with the plaintiffs that that they would, in fact, take care of you for 3 months of your pregnancy, and you would allow them to adopt your baby. You did not allow them to adopt your baby, and therefore, they're entitled to their money back. So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Once you have it, you know, it's different, and then it just keeps stewing. You keep thinking about it over and over and over, day after day after day. At least I did. And
The way we feel or whatever went down today is really petty to the way we would have felt every day if we didn't get our kid back.
I was devastated that morning. You have no idea how devastated I was that morning.
I'm sure
I barely
it was
made it
hard
to that office, barely. I was hysterical in that car driving her there. It's very heartbreaking to think that you've got to go 90 days and wait till day 90 or day 89, and then all of a sudden a decision has been made, and you need to give this baby back. We had bonded with this baby, and it was very devastating. We loved her dearly.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 351 on the calendar in the matter of Hutchinson versus Glenn. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
You're suing the defendant because you say he assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And injured you badly.
Yes.
So let me try to put this in perspective. You and the defendant dated in 1992.
Yes.
And not since.
Right.
And this assault happened in what year?
1997.
Just this past summer, in July. What were you doing near him in 1997?
Well, first of all, I wasn't near him. I was walking home from the store, and he came up behind me and viciously attacked me. Your Honor, I have pictures of my injuries.
You mean for no reason out of the blue, he just came up behind you and viciously attacked you?
Yes.
So tell me how that happened.
Well, first of all, we wasn't exactly friends after we broke up. It was a lot of animosity between us, and he told some people that he was going to beat me down like a dog on the street when he saw me, and that's what he did.
And now I'll take a look at your pictures. You were arrested for this assault, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
And according to your papers, you had a trial already.
That's true.
Correct?
Yes.
And the jury found you not guilty.
That's correct. Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
That doesn't prevent you from suing here. You understand that? That's why you're here. Now, you want to tell me your version of this incident, sir?
Yes, ma'am. We broke up, and she just keeps harassing me.
How?
Just keeps coming back, harassing me.
How? I know you keep saying that. How does she harass you?
Over the phone, harassing me. She vandalized my car. I have restraining orders.
How many restraining orders do you have against her?
Well, I have this one restraining order against her.
This was in 1995.
Correct. She doesn't even think that it's enforceable. She just keeps coming back to me.
Well, when you say keeps coming back to you, she comes back to you by
Harass.
phone?
Yeah, by phone.
You say harassment. Tell me exactly what she was doing, sir.
Well, she'd come back, she'd call me on the phone all the time, harassing me, cursing me out, cursing whoever answers the phone out, you know, if it's a female or whatever.
Stop shaking your head. It's
She
not impressing me.
She has like a fatal attraction. I don't know. I can't shake her.
So tell me what happened on this particular day, sir.
The incident, the day?
Yes.
The day of the incident, she had been harassing me all day long, harassing my wife.
You're married now?
Right. I got married, and she had been harassing my wife all day.
How?
Just calling.
You mean on the phone? Well, I don't want you to use the word harassing anymore. I want you to say what she'd been doing. She had been calling on the phone?
Calling, harassing me, threatening. Threatening me, you know, threatening my wife with bodily injury, threatening her with if she sees her come outside, she's going to do some damage to her. You know, threatening me with I'm going to get my boyfriend to, you know, beat you up and all this. And so
what did you do?
So I started to call the police, you know. I called the police all day long, you know. Kept calling the police, they never showed up. If you take a couple of minutes, Your Honor, you will hear it right here on the tape.
Tapes to the police?
Correct.
I'd like to hear them.
I was calling. What can you do about somebody who's constantly harassing you, making threats to your wife? And
where are they threatening you from?
They're threatening from a phone booth, and they've been threatening me. I had a restraining order put against them.
And they're still calling you after you have the restraining order already on file?
Now she's calling and threatening my wife.
Threatening to do what?
Threatening to do violence. Just keep calling. I put a block on my phone, going to the phone booth calling, and she's vandalized my car. I had that.
Did you report that already?
Yes, I reported that once, and I'm not sure what I can do because, you know.
Is she making death threats?
Yeah.
Okay.
Serious threats, like she's going to do violence. She knows what she looks like. She's going to come to the door and you know, break in, try and get in the house.
What's your address? Oh, is it a house or an apartment?
Apartment 206.
What's your name?
My name is Tony Glenn.
Glenn with a G, George?
Glenn.
Okay, we'll be there.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Health Emergency Dispatch 20. Yes, I was calling. Someone was supposed to come out to my house because I had someone making threats against me and my family.
What was the address that you gave?
Pearl Street, apartment 206.
Is this Tony Glenn?
Yes.
Okay, what's going on now?
Well, the person's still calling, making threats. And the police haven't came. I called about an hour ago.
Yeah, we got your call. As soon as we get an officer out there for the report, they'll be out there.
All right.
Thank you. Oakland Police 22?
Yes, I was calling trying to find out. I called the police about 4 hours ago, trying to get someone out to try and deal with this situation. Someone keeps calling, threatening my family. I know the person, but they're just constantly calling and harassing me, and, you know, they won't stop calling and making threats on people's lives.
This is Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Okay, I see your call. We'll be there as soon as we have an officer available.
You must be very busy, huh?
Yes, extremely busy.
Okay, because I called like at 4.
Yep, we're that busy.
All right, turn it off, sir.
All right, well.
Turn it off, sir. Okay. Now, after you got frustrated because the police didn't arrive,
right,
what happened?
Okay, after she kept calling and calling and calling, and then finally, after the police never arrived, I said, look, what is it you want? What is it you want from me? You know, you keep harassing me, you're harassing my wife, she has nothing to do with this. And so I asked her what she wants, and she was like, well, you meet me at the bakery, and we'll settle this, you know? And at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go down there and see what's going on. So I go down there, and then when I get down there, I walk up to her, and she proceeds to try and spray me with the mace, the pepper spray, excuse me. And at that point, you know, we get into a fist fight, and you know, she's been asking for a confrontation for you know, she just wants to get me into a confrontation with her simply because I'm a man, and the way it turned out exactly the way the police saw it. This man's beating on this woman, you see, and that wasn't the case, you know.
Where was the pepper spray?
She had it in her hand. She came out the bakery. I walked up to her, you know, to find out what's going on.
So she told you to meet her at the bakery?
Correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He kicked me with his foot in my face several times.
Before or after you sprayed him?
It was before I sprayed him, and the pepper spray didn't even work.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 37-year-old Gail Hutchinson is suing her former boyfriend, Tony Glenn, for medical expenses, claiming he repeatedly kicked her and slammed her head on the pavement.
So tell me exactly what happened.
And when I walked up to her, she proceeded to spray me with the pepper spray. You know, she didn't hit me directly in the face. She hit me somewhere in here. So it didn't immobilize me, I guess, as she wanted it to. And at that point, I was defending myself, Your Honor.
Okay, so you hit her?
So I hit her, yeah.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah, I hit her a couple of times. I mean...
A few times. She's got a black eye. Right? And you hit her where else?
I hit her in the face, maybe hit her in the head, and, you know...
You hit her pretty good.
I think I threw her down.
You have any papers from the criminal court?
No, but you know, they found me not guilty.
I know they did.
The only
All
other...
right, Miss Hutchinson.
First of all, Your Honor, I never did harass him.
Just a second. Yes, you did. Just a second. Yes, you did. I have to explain something to you. I'm like a truth machine. Now, nobody has cause to put their hands on anybody else, but don't stand there and tell me that you didn't harass him, because you did. You called his house. You called his house many times. You called his house and spoke to his wife. You called the house and spoke to him. Now, you know that, and I know that. Right?
Right.
All right. Now, then you did say to him, I'll meet you at the bakery. Right?
Right.
All right. So he didn't just come up from behind you out of nowhere and beat you up. And you did have pepper spray. Right?
Right.
Now, Miss Hutchinson, get over him. Do you understand? You pushed this man to the limit. What did you expect him to do? You've been calling and threatening him at his house. Time and time again. You've been calling and threatening his wife. Time and time again. You tell him to meet you so that you can settle it. He's frustrated because the police are not responding. He comes to meet you. And when you see him, you take out pepper spray and you spray him. What did you expect him to do? Say thank you very much?
Because it wasn't like that. He kicked me. He came from behind me, and he pushed me to the ground, and he kicked me with his foot in my face several times.
Before or after you sprayed him?
It was before he sprayed me, before I sprayed him, and the pepper spray didn't even work.
That's not true.
It didn't work.
That's
it
not
didn't
true,
work.
Miss Hutchinson, let me explain something to you. This is why your case was dismissed in the criminal court, because you lied. And when you lie, a fact finder, that's me, or in the criminal court, that was the jury, they don't know what to believe and what not to believe. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when you tell one lie, I don't know whether the second part of what you're telling me is the truth or a lie. All I know is you say first you told me a story that he came out of nowhere and he assaulted you. And you didn't know why. And you kept shaking your head when you said that, when he was telling you the story about how you were calling and harassing him, you kept shaking your head, no, 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 that's not true. And it turns out it was true. And you came to that meeting with him that you asked for. So he didn't come out of nowhere. You told him, meet me at the bakery. You just told me that that's what you told him. And you came armed with pepper spray or mace or whatever else it was. What did you expect him to do? He's married. He doesn't want anything to do with you anymore. Leave him alone. Otherwise, you're going to have difficulty with him. He's already had a restraining order against you. I mean, that took time to get. Judge gave him a restraining order against you. You have to leave him alone because you're going to, you know, you can push somebody so far and then they're going to lose it. And then you say, oh, I didn't do anything. But you did. You keep pushing his buttons. You can't do that, Miss Hutchinson. You're stalking him. There are laws against stalking. There are laws against the kinds of things that you were doing to him and to his wife. And you have to stop it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have to stop pushing his buttons, madam, because after a while you push his buttons, you never know where it's going to end up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tony Glenn says his former girlfriend, Gail Hutchinson, was a fatal attraction who harassed him and his new wife. She's suing him for beating her up, but he claims it was in self-defense.
Now, Mr. Glenn, that doesn't excuse the fact that you probably overreacted to what happened when you hit her. You understand that. The pepper spray hit you around here. So you weren't, in fact, at risk of your life at the time. You really hit her pretty badly because she's got a black eye and she has some other bruises on her. You went a little overboard. But I don't think you went overboard, sir, out of any maliciousness. I think that you had just had it. I mean, have you seen her pictures?
But Your Honor, she was fighting back. It's not like...
I'm sure she was fighting back.
She was fighting back.
Listen to me. I'm sure as calm, as sweet as she stands here now, I'm sure she was fighting back.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to award her any money. I am going to dismiss this case just as the criminal court dismissed the case because I think in that case the jury was right. You have to stop pushing his buttons, madam, because after a while you push his buttons, you never know where it's going to end up. Do you understand? That's all. This case is dismissed. Now listen to me. Let me tell you about your countersuit, sir. Listen to me. You're suing her for the expenses of living together in 1992, when you were living together. I read your countersuit. Mr. Glenn, why are you looking at me with a look of incredulity? You say in your answer, listen to me, sir. You say in your answer that you lived together and you paid all the bills in 1992 and she was supposed to pay you rent. We are now in 1997, right?
That's correct.
Just a second. Did you ever sue her before for the money that she owed you?
Well,
that you say...
But I had to pay it back, though.
Mr. Glenn, listen to me carefully, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
This happened in 1992, right?
That's true.
Did you ever sue her before?
No, I didn't sue her before.
Good. Right. Now, you're also requesting money that you had to pay for a lawyer, right?
Of course. I mean...
And just shh. Where is the bill for the lawyer?
Here it is.
Let me see it.
I mean...
Let me see the bill. Mr. Glenn, what I'm telling you is you're not totally blameless in this whole thing, sir, because you really shouldn't have gone down to the bakery to meet her.
I've done everything in my power to try and, deal with her.
Sir. Mr. Glenn, you can stand there and you can stamp your feet all you like. What I'm telling you is...
Your Honor... Your Honor, may I say one thing?
Just a minute. What's the name of your lawyer, sir?
Cornell Solomon. May I say one thing, Your Honor?
Yes.
My wife just gave birth last night.
Right.
That amount of money has just totally wiped me out.
Just a second. What I'm asking you is, first of all, one of these amounts has been changed.
No, it has.
Oh, yes, it has.
No, it has.
Shh. Oh, yes, it has. This was a 6 and it was made a 7. I know, or a 7, it was made a 6. I don't know exactly what it was, but you say that this one is $600?
That's correct.
All right. How much did you pay the lawyer in total, sir?
$2,500. That's a lot of money, Your Honor.
Just a second. You paid the lawyer $2,500? Give me his phone number. Give me his phone number. Because I'm not entertaining your lawsuit for this money that you say she owes you from when you were living together 5 years ago. I'm not doing it, Mr. Glenn. Okay. Just give me a minute, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Could you return this card to Mr. Glenn, please? Mr. Glenn, first of all, let me tell you, I like your lawyer. And I think that he probably did a very good job for you. You did, in fact, give him an initial retainer of $750. He charged you $500 a day for each day of the trial. You still owe him $750, right?
That's true.
Okay. But you're going to pay him, aren't you?
Of course. I got to.
Very good. And I believe, Mr. Glenn, that you are... Do you work, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
Janitorial.
You live in the apartment where you're the janitor?
No. I work at a separate community, child care.
Okay. How long have you been working for this company?
5 years.
How much money do you earn?
About $1,400. $1,400 a month.
A month? And what about your wife, sir?
She isn't working at this time. She just had a baby last night.
Is that your first baby?
Yes.
Yes. Her first baby?
Yes.
Boy or a girl?
Boy.
How big?
He was 5 pounds, 13 ounces.
Little boy. I'm giving you your legal fees, sir.
Appreciate
Judgment in this case is on the counterclaim for the defendant, $2,500. Leave him alone.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy. Now she's taking him to court to recover the damages.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Sir.
Judge, this is number 191 on the calendar in the matter of Tracy versus Jackson. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Tracy, your complaint reads like a short novel, but let me see if I understand it. This used to be your boyfriend?
Yes.
And then you broke up. Is that right?
Yes.
When you broke up with this gentleman, your name is Steve?
Yes, that's right.
You became involved with someone by the name of?
Greg Schwartz.
Greg. Then you moved in with Greg and that didn't work out, correct?
Correct.
Then you got back together with?
Steve.
Steve. Mm-hmm. And moved some of your furniture into his apartment.
Correct.
Pick it up from there.
I moved my furniture into his house because I needed a place to store it. Steve offered his house to store it with no problem. So I...
Well, just a second. You not only moved your furniture into the house, am I correct that you moved yourself into the house?
No, I did not.
Just your furniture?
Correct.
So you didn't stay at his house at all?
I did stay at his house, but not permanently. I used his house for storage of my furniture. I lived with my grandparents at their home.
Okay. So you weren't dating him at that point when you moved your furniture back into the house?
Yes, I did. Yes, we were.
So you were? You had renewed your relationship with him?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I moved my things into his house because he said it was okay. It was only a temporary situation until I decided to move back out again and take my things. And after spending a few months with him, we both realized that our relationship wasn't working out, and I broke it off with him. He became upset and angry and destroyed my furniture and belongings.
What furniture did he destroy, Tracy?
I have estimates and pictures.
Just tell me.
My couches, my bed, my VCR. I brought my VCR here for you to see. My comforter, my lamps. There's a garage door involved here, but that's later. My dining room table and my patio furniture. And
okay. Did you get any of your things back?
Yes, I recovered damaged property as well as what wasn't damaged.
What wasn't damaged?
My desk, and I would have to say that's about it.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Now, I read your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct, sir, that you do not deny destroying this furniture?
That's correct.
Okay, let's start with why you destroyed it.
Okay, the first thing why is because she did not call it off. What actually happened was I found out that she was doing something behind my back with the same gentleman that we moved the furniture out of his house.
So you found out according to you, that the plaintiff, Miss Tracy, was seeing Mr. Schwartz again.
That's right.
And that made you?
Upset, angry. That happened in June of '97. It was found out on June 20th. Confronted her about it. She lied time and time again, even though I knew that I saw her car at his house. I left a note on her car. I'm sure she didn't bring that with her today.
So you found her car in front of his house. What were you doing in front of his house?
Driving by to work.
You didn't have to go out of your way in order to do
not
that?
At all.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I have to...
Just a second. I'll get back to you. So you left a note on her car?
Right.
Saying that caught you, something like that?
Basically.
All right. But that wasn't enough. Then you got very angry.
No, actually after that, I confronted her about it. After a couple of days of lying to me, she finally admitted it. And then we were still talking with each other about it. I can't really say if we were together or not. And about a month after that, I was just upset one night and got sick of seeing the stuff that she gave me at my house. Had the dining room table in my dining area and got upset and just didn't want it anymore. And that's why I destroyed it. I did not want to see it anymore. I didn't want it in my house anymore. I didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore.
Tell me how you destroyed it.
Some of the chairs that were broken were kind of already broken because they were, like, if you step on the chair or if you rest your foot on one of the wooden rests.
I mean, did you pick up the furniture and fling it and hit it? All right, so you destroyed it.
Yeah.
Wasn't just the dining room table and
It was
chairs.
a dining room table and chairs, a couch.
How did you destroy the couch?
Threw it off my balcony. Because it was up in my bedroom, because she gave me some of the furniture.
We'll get to the giving, because that's
Okay.
your defense to this action. You say she gave you all this furniture.
Right.
And therefore it was yours to destroy. Tell me how she gave you the furniture, Mr. Jackson.
In March, the middle of March of this year, '97, we were together. She came over to my house one day, found out that her ex-boyfriend was cheating on her.
This same Mr. Schwartz.
Found out he was cheating on her, got really mad, decided to go to his condo where she had her furniture, and I offered to help move the stuff out along with two of my roommates, who we all have trucks, so we decided to go over there. And one day we moved all the stuff out of the garage, out of the townhouse. And I asked her, where do you want to put this? She said, well, I don't even want this stuff. Why don't you want it? It reminds me of him. And I go, well, if you don't want it, then, you know, what are you going to do with it? She said, do you want to take it? I go, I don't want all this stuff. Had couches, a table, lamp, and some personal items, kitchenware and a mattress, Christmas ornaments. I go, I don't want all this stuff. But the stuff that I can use, fine, I'll take. Dining room table, a couple couches, a lamp, and that's it. Everything else went in my garage.
What about the VCR over there that's got a big dent in it?
That was not for me. I don't know how she can justify me doing that. She had the VCR. She had it in my house, but I did not touch her VCR.
You mean when you were destroying all the other stuff, you didn't just happen to one of the couches or the dining room table and chairs or something didn't plop itself on that VCR?
I didn't walk into the closet and look for a VCR just to destroy. She didn't have her stuff out in my house. She had
I
a certain
understand that.
couple
Somebody
things.
destroyed that.
I don't know who.
You were in a rage. Is that a fair statement,
That could
sir?
be a good statement, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He couldn't handle the fact that I didn't want to be with him anymore. He was drunk. And he was drunk. But, I mean, it's apparent that he has a drinking problem.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Jackson admits he flew into a rage when he found out his girlfriend, Kathy Tracy, was spending time with her ex-boyfriend. But he says the property he destroyed belonged to him, and Tracy has no grounds for this lawsuit.
Mr. Jackson, I find it difficult. She says that she just stored her stuff at your house while she was looking for another place. I don't think that you develop a sentimental attachment for furniture that reminds you of another boyfriend. That doesn't make sense. Common sense suggests to me that a couch is a couch, and a dining room table and chairs is a dining room table and chairs. And just because an old boyfriend ate off of it or sat on it doesn't mean that you don't want to look at it anymore, sir. Because if she was dating you, again, she was still going to look at the furniture, right? If it was in your house. And she was going to be looking at the same furniture that Schwartz sat on and ate off of. So why would she say, I don't want to look at it anymore, and then put it in a place where she have to look at it every single day?
She said she didn't want it anymore.
You mean she didn't want to possess it anymore?
I'm just telling you what she said. When we moved it into my house, she said, I do not want this stuff.
Your Honor.
I have
That sounds
witnesses.
like nonsense. Yeah. Do I have any witnesses here?
Yes.
There are a
You do.
lot of people on either side, but important witnesses. I don't want any nonsense witnesses because it's a busy day.
Can I?
Yeah?
Yes. Good.
Step up here. State your name.
My name's Chris.
Chris, you have a last name.
Chris Delacroce.
Okay.
I helped him move out the furniture out of Schwartz's house.
Yes.
Okay. It was my understanding that she didn't want it because it reminded her
I don't want to know what
of
your
him.
understanding was. Your understanding is relevant to you. It's not particularly relevant to me. I want to know what you saw and heard.
I saw her furniture move into our house.
And what did you hear her say, if anything? Right here. Nothing.
Nothing right to me. No.
Good. Did you hear her say? Did you hear her say anything to anyone else?
No.
Good. Sit. You have any other important witnesses for me to hear, Steve?
No.
Perfect. Do you have any witnesses you wish to me to hear? Important ones.
Yes, I do. I have Steve's former roommate who lived in the house with him before my furniture was moved in there, while it was moved in there, and after it was destroyed, and I took what was remaining of it.
Step up here. State your name, please.
Vanessa Williams.
Miss Williams, did you ever have a conversation with Mr. Jackson about the furniture?
Mm-hmm.
Means a yes or a no?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that conversation about the furniture?
The night after it happened.
The night after it was destroyed?
Mm-hmm.
And
No. Was that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. And what did he say to you?
He said that he asked me that he said that he felt bad that he did this, and he asked me if he should reimburse her for this. And I told him whatever he wants to do. I didn't really want to get involved at the time.
He was girlfriend at the time?
No.
You just was staying there with him?
Platonic roommate.
I rented a room from him.
So he asked you whether he should reimburse her?
Right.
Mr. Jackson, a couple of other questions I have for you. Why don't you sit down, Miss Williams? Thank you. Did you have any of your own stuff in the apartment?
My house?
Yeah, in your house.
Yes, I did.
To destroy your own stuff?
No.
So you had selective rage. Right?
That's correct.
Your selective rage, Mr. Jackson, is going to cost you. Can I have a list of items that
yes, there's
that were
pictures,
destroyed? Thank you.
estimates.
Good.
And, Your Honor, I also wanted to state when I filed this complaint, I made it for $5,000, but I didn't exactly total it up. It doesn't quite come up to $5,000, and I put the price difference that I came up with.
Well, what is it?
$3,939.52, I believe.
Is that what all of these things cost you?
Actually, I took estimates only because the places where I bought this furniture either are not in business anymore, so I got the closest estimate to my furniture that I had.
Well, was this almost $4,000 more expensive or less expensive than what you actually paid for the furniture?
That is about the approximate price range of
Not
furniture.
price range. I want to know what you actually paid for the furniture.
To be exact?
Yeah, to be exact.
About $3,200,
Because I have the bills here.
$3,200, but there is something else included into that that I did not buy. That's the garage door that he broke.
Well, you didn't have a garage.
Where I was staying the night that he destroyed my
You mean
furniture.
at Schwartz's house?
Correct.
Let Schwartz sue him, unless you paid Schwartz for the garage door.
Well, actually, I'm going to have to pay for it.
No, you won't. You don't have to pay for it because he broke it. Let Schwartz sue him. How much was the garage door?
$620.
Okay, so we're down to $3,200. You just bought this furniture, looks like.
Well, it's on hold.
What do you mean it's on hold?
It's an estimate. They wouldn't.
Miss Tracy.
Yes?
How old was the furniture that was there?
Less than 2 years old, and it was brand new. I kept it in perfect condition. That furniture was, I mean, I I cherish that. And I took very good care. It was immaculate. It was brand new. There was nothing wrong with anything.
All right, now let me take a look at this furniture, what it looks like. There are 2 sofas. Did you throw both sofas out?
No.
Where's the other
There was
one?
nothing wrong with the other sofa. She moved it out later on. There's nothing wrong with it.
Your Honor,
Was
he
there anything wrong with
urinated on it. He slashed it up, but he didn't throw it over his balcony because it was too big.
No, that is absolutely not true.
Let's not talk about slashing it. Did you do anything else to it?
No, that is not true. I did not urinate on her couch.
Well, that's
Did you let anybody else do it?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He does not have any ambition in life except to sit on the couch and drink beer and watch the football game.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy Tracy is in court with her ex-boyfriend, Steve Jackson, because she claims he destroyed her property in a jealous rage.
Mr. Jackson, you slash up her mattress?
No.
No?
I did not.
It's all slashed.
I didn't slash her mattress. What I did was destroyed the dining room table, the chairs, the lamp, and the couch.
That is not true.
Well, who destroyed this?
I don't know. She's had the furniture ever since July, the middle of July.
Well,
and then 1 month later, she comes in and...
Miss Tracy?
Yes?
When did you get the mattress back?
I got the mattress back when I moved all the furniture. The night was July 17th, is when he destroyed all of my furniture at approximately 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right, okay.
I picked up my furniture that day, that afternoon. He let me come and recover the damaged property.
Are you telling me that you took out this damaged mattress?
Yes.
Why did you take out the damaged mattress?
To use it as evidence, because I was obviously going to take him to court over this.
Who helped move out the furniture?
I had 2 movers helping me.
Show this to him, please. Did you... Mr. Jackson, I want you to look at that very carefully, sir.
No, I did not do that. That's not my place. She's had the mattresses ever since the middle of July and not touched that. Now I can turn to the pictures of the couch and the table. Can I look through this?
The couch isn't in there.
I see a picture of a garage door opener.
I'm not interested in the
A
garage door
mattress.
opener. That's
well,
another
I
lawsuit.
don't see how she can justify $3,200.
Just a second. I asked you about the mattress. Did you do that to the mattress?
No, I didn't. I did not touch her mattress.
This keeps getting better.
Who are you?
I'm Danielle Crockett.
How do you know her?
I've been her best friend for about 4 years.
Best friend, did you see the furniture when it came back to her house after she moved it out? Did you? Who are you?
I'm Nicole Halterman. Not that day. Actually, I had gone to Steve's house that night because I'm friends with his roommate, Vanessa. And I saw the furniture damaged.
Did you see the mattress?
Not the mattress, but everything else.
She'd already taken the mattress out of the house.
She took the mattress and the couches, but she left the table because it was in too many pieces to take. The patio furniture was in too many pieces to take, and the lamps. I saw those in his backyard. Looked like they had been thrown over the balcony.
Okay, but the mattress she had taken, she didn't take any of the property that was destroyed, is that right?
Well, the table was in, like, toothpicks.
Just answer my question. Okay. She didn't take any of the property that was destroyed. She left all the badly damaged property there. Is that what you're saying to me?
She took, like, the VCR and the mattresses, all the other stuff that was destroyed.
Just a second. Did you see her take the mattress out?
No, because I was at work when she did that.
So you don't know whether the mattress was destroyed or not?
Well, Steve had admitted to me that he had destroyed it.
Oh, did he?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
That night when I was at his house, he said that he felt really bad that he did it.
Did what?
Destroyed the couches, the mattresses, the table.
He said the mattresses?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Well, he mentioned the mattresses, the table. He mentioned everything.
Okay. Good.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Jackson, when you have a fit of temper, you have to pay. Understand? I assume that that's the comforter. Is that what that's doing here?
Yes. Would you like to see
All
it?
right. I just assumed that that's what it
Your
was.
Honor.
Not part of the new decor in the courtroom. When you have a fit of temper, you have to pay. And your story is a lot of who shot John with regard to her giving you the furniture that she gave you because she didn't want to look at it anymore because it had an emotional attachment to Mr. Schwartz. So it's going to cost you. It's not going to cost you in this lawsuit the garage door, because I don't want to hear about that. If you damaged Mr. Schwartz's garage door, he'll take that up with you at some other time. Ms. Tracy, I am awarding you $3,000 to replace the furniture. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your
Parties
Honor.
are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your room, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He's an alcoholic. He's mentally and physically abusive. He does not have any ambition in life except to sit on the couch and drink beer and watch the football game. And it wasn't going anywhere. I have ambitions and goals, and we just don't meet. I am glad that I will never have to see him again. Thank you.
Monique Howard posed for a photo on his car. She dented his hood.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Ma'am.
Judge, this is number 339 on the calendar in the matter of Ayala versus Howard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Your complaint alleges, sir, that the defendant dented your car when she sat on it.
Yes, that's true.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Okay, it all took place at the Velocity Car Show, which is held, I believe, in the area of Redondo Beach. The defendant had asked me earlier that day that she wanted to do a couple photo shots on my car.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a 97 Volkswagen GTI. Volkswagen.
Is that a special kind of car?
What's in that car in particular is there's only 500 United States that were brought over from Germany.
So you were showing the car at this automobile show?
Right. I invested at least $5,000 prior to that date into that car.
What do you mean you invested?
As far as money for rims and exhaust systems to modify the car.
So you have this very special car. You're showing it at an auto show. And what were you doing there?
I was asked to go there and do some modeling.
Who asked you?
The president from the actual car club called Orsic.
And how did you two get together?
Well, I had a friendly relationship with her prior to this. And the day of the show, she approached me when she arrived and asking me if she could use my car to pose for a photographer that was coming for her own personal use. And I asked her, what kind of posing are you going to do? And she said, well, I have this pose that I sit on top of the hood and I
That's not true.
Just a second, I'm going to get to you. You have this, she said to you.
There's a pose where she gets on top of the hood and she takes a picture and it's a real nice shot. And I said, well, have you ever done this before? And she said, yes, I did. I've done it before, nothing happened, it's a great shot. So she reassured me by doing that, and I was easily convinced to letting her do that.
Okay, according to you, you agreed to let her sit on the hood of your car, and you sat there.
Well, depending on what the photographer asked us to do, but yeah, I did.
Sit on the hood of the car and took a picture.
Right, but the photographer asked him repeatedly, about 3 or 4 times, if it was okay. And he agreed to everything, as far as if we were going to actually sit on the car or model around it or whatever we were going to do.
How did you sit on the hood of the car?
They asked us to actually just sit sideways, kind of facing each other with our feet dangling down on the side of the car, and he took a few
But you were the
shots of
only
that.
one who sat on
No,
it?
there was another model.
That sat on his car? Was there another model that sat on your
Yes,
car?
there was. Her name is Kalan. She sat the opposite side of the car, at the same position, same area, just on the opposite side of the hood.
Okay. So what happened after the pictures were taken?
I didn't notice the dent until I got home when I was just waxing down the car. And as I was waxing the hood, I noticed that there was a dent in the hood. Well, I felt that it wasn't my responsibility to take care of that, so I called her the very next day, let her know.
3 days later, not the next day.
Listen.
Sorry.
I hate this thing. Don't interrupt him.
Sorry.
I mean, I could be mistaken, but it was the week after the show. And what happened, I let her know that the fact that she sat in the car, the dent was put into the car. And I just let her know that I didn't feel fair that I had to pay for those damages since it was for her cause and she was the one that actually implied the dent into my hood. She was very humble and actually very generous, saying that she would pay for all damages and you know, embarrassed a bit. But I mean, it was basically a verbal agreement where we both agreed on a date.
Do you have some pictures of this car, sir? That's why I understand that this monitor is in here. You have some pictures that you want to show me?
Oh, yes, I do have some pictures that I need to show you.
That's the car. Where's the damage?
There's a damage. If you see where the light hits, it actually dims down. If I can approach it, I'll show you.
I see it now. Is that the side you were sitting on?
Yeah, it was.
Huh? Okay. All right. And you didn't notice that until a day or so later, is that right?
Yes, you're right.
How come you have such an expensive car and you didn't notice this terrible dent in the car until a day or so later, sir?
Well, actually, I noticed it the same day, but I called her a day or so later.
First of all, how much do you say it's going to cost you to fix it, sir?
Well, I have an estimate here from the dealer service area that I deal with. They appraised the damage. That's the amount that I'm suing for.
$561?
Yes.
All right. And what's your position?
Well, first of all, when we were taking the shots, he stood there and watched the whole shoot and said nothing. He was even suggesting different poses. Basically, to make a long story short, afterwards, I saw him polishing off the car. He did not approach me with any concern about damages. I actually went over there and looked at the car. There wasn't any damages. And it wasn't until actually 3 days later that he called me and told me that there were damages on there. If they had asked him if it was okay, and all of a sudden he's coming back to me 3 days later saying that I made these damages, it would be his responsibility only because the photographer had asked him over and over it was okay if we were to get on the car.
Oh, you asked him. You asked him. That was enough.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She asked you if she could sit on the hood of your car.
Right.
You're a fool to have said yes. You're a fool.
And later today,
It's obvious to me that when you move out, you move out. You take your clothes, you take your shoes, you take your hats, and you take your doggone cars too.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carlos Ayala says when car model Monique Howard sat on the hood of his sports car to pose for a photo, she left a dent. Monique says she's not responsible because she had Carlos's permission to sit on the car.
Mr. Ayala.
Yes.
You think that she should be responsible for all these damages
Do
to
I
your
feel
car?
that I should be
That
responsible?
she should be.
Yes, I do.
Well, you're wrong. You want to know why, sir?
Yes, I do.
If she had sat on your car without your permission, she would be totally responsible for the damage to your car.
Right.
You are supposed to be an intelligent man. If somebody asked me if they could sit on the hood of my car, and if I said sure, and if they damaged the hood of my car, whose fault would that be?
Well, considering if I make a statement,
Yeah.
there's two models that sat on the car. First of all, the other model did not dent the car, which
Yeah,
was
maybe she was thinner.
Which was what she asked me
Just
for.
a second. Maybe she was thinner.
Yeah, actually, she was very much thinner.
Well, then, sir.
Right, but
look,
I'm not.
you use your eyes.
Right.
You look at one model who's thinner. If my 2-month-old grandchild was on the hood of my car, and if my 9-year-old grandson Casey sat on the hood of my car and I said it was okay, and if Casey damages the hood of my car, that's my fault because he's 9 years old and weighs more than a 2-month-old baby. So if you look at these two women and she's a little heftier, and you tell her it's okay to sit on the hood of your car because you wanted your car in some sort of a magazine, why should she pay for it?
That's an incorrect statement there. I didn't ask her to take the shot for my purpose.
Doesn't make any difference.
Second.
She asked you if she could sit on the hood of your car.
Right. Well,
You're a fool to have said yes. You're a fool.
Well, considering that I'm not a weight trainer and I'm not an expert in that field, I wouldn't be able to make a professional...
I want to tell you something. I'm not a weight trainer, and I'm not an
Exactly.
expert in that
Well,
field,
then
and
you
I
have-
wouldn't let anybody sit on my car. You think that if this guy said to me, Judge, I want to take a picture on the hood of your car.
Right.
Could I take a picture on the hood of your car? And he sat on the hood of my car, and the hood went to the pavement. that I would say, it's his fault? No, sir. It's my fault, because I was the idiot.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying to you? This lady, looking exactly like she did, said, I want to sit on the hood of your brand new, expensive, rimmed car from Germany.
From Germany. American.
And you said, sure. And then she sat on your car, and according to you, she dented it, and you think that that's her fault.
Not entirely.
Dismissed.
Parties are excused. Step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Jackson versus Mitchell. Step forward.
31-year-old student Adam Jackson is suing his former roommate Lorraine Mitchell because she refuses to return his 1985 El Camino.
All right, I don't think this is very complicated. Mr. Jackson, you and Miss Mitchell were friends, and for a while you lived in her house.
Yes.
You lived in her house along with other properties, an old car.
Correct.
And then you moved out of her house.
Yes.
And you left your...
Vehicle on a property.
What kind of car was it?
It's an 85 Chevy El Camino.
And where on the property did you leave the car?
In her backyard.
Were there any other cars in the backyard?
No.
Just yours?
Just mine.
And how long did you leave it there?
I would say from April '97 through November, and it's still there. November this year.
And you want your car back?
Yes.
And you say?
And I say, Mr. Jackson, you're more than welcome to have your car back, but I want to be paid $18.50 for storage per day.
Why?
I checked with several storage companies because if he had had his automobile parked in a garage towing service, he would have paid $18.50. And on top
Why
of
did
that,
you let him leave the car there to begin with?
why did I let him leave the car?
Yeah.
Because he didn't have any other place to take it. Judge, I called Mr. Jackson on several occasions, over and over and over, repeatedly over, asking him, please come and pick up your car. I asked him over 5 or 6 times. I have the dates written down, and he will testify to that, I'm sure.
But, Miss Mitchell, you had no agreement with him that he was going to pay you to store the car. He didn't do the right thing and get the car out of there fast enough. Why?
Well, at the time I was going to school, and because I was busy with my schoolwork, and I tried. I tried when I told her I was going to come by to pick up the car. So when I finally sold my car, I had the guy who I sold the car to go by her house to pick it up, and that's when I found out that I was going to have a hard time picking up the car.
Yeah, and when was that? When did you sell your car?
November 7th.
Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden somebody showed up at your property to look at the car? Is that what happened?
Well, first of all, a young lady called me over the phone, and she says, hello, I'm Stella. I'm going to be coming over to look at Adam's car. I'm like, huh? Okay. And then the next thing I know, at 8:30 at night, there's a gentleman knocking at my door. I mean, and it's pitch black dark where I live at. And I'm saying, who is this at my door? I'm recovering from a nervous breakdown. He knows I'm ill. Judge Judy, he hasn't even called me to give me the decency to say, Lorraine, someone is going to come over and be looking at the car.
Miss Mitchell, how old is he?
He's a child. I have no idea.
How old are you?
31.
Miss Mitchell, you said it. He's an irresponsible child.
That's right.
No question about that.
And this is what this is all about, to teach an irresponsible child about your responsibilities. You cannot go off and leave your merchandise on somebody's property for 6 months and come back and all of a sudden it's yours. You have interrupted my business, Adam. You know I have my pallet business back there.
Don't talk to him, talk to me.
Judge, I have a pallet business there in the back where I store expensive pallets are back there. We can't put the fence back in place because once I put the fence in, he has to tear the fence down to get his car out. How many times do I have to call him? Adam, come get your car. Adam, come get your car. Adam, come get your car. I don't feel I have to call him that many times.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You rip and run to Vegas every other weekend with these young floozies, and you don't have time enough to come over and take care of your business. That's the bottom line, am I right?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Adam Jackson says his former roommate, Lorraine Mitchell, refuses to return his 1985 El Camino. Lorraine says Adam abandoned the car and she wants him to pay a storage fee.
Now, Mr. Jackson, there is a certain equity in what she says, sir. You know, while she does not have a contract with you, a storage contract, then you cannot create a contract after the fact.
Yes,
Ms.
I'm
Mitchell.
not
Do you
trying to,
Yes, that's what you're trying to do.
Okay,
You
well,
cannot create that
all
after
right.
the fact.
All right.
Because there were certain things that you could have done, like just towing his car out of there and just leaving it someplace.
That's right.
You could have done that.
That's
you didn't do
right.
that. Now, Mr. Jackson, did you sell this car?
Yes, I sold it, and then I had to give the guy his money back because Lorraine wouldn't let me come on her property to get the car.
Well, so that wasn't so long ago, sir. Is that right? Do you still have a buyer for this car?
No.
No. So what do you intend to do with the car?
Sell it once I get possession of it.
And what do you think you're going to sell it for, sir?
About $1,000.
And how much of that do you morally think you owe Miss Mitchell for having had to look at your car well beyond a reasonable period of time?
Morally, I don't think I owe her anything.
Well, let's think about why not?
Well, she didn't tell me to come by to
She
pick up the
called
car.
you 4 or 5 times, Mr. Jackson. She called you 4 or 5 times, not to say, how are you? Not to say how you're doing. She called and said nicely, when are you coming to pick up your car? And you made appointments and you never showed up, right?
Correct.
So that makes you immature and irresponsible. And I'm asking you, you are now going to sell a car that's been an eyesore on her property for 6 months. What do you think you owe her for the inconvenience? You tell me.
Well, like I said, Your Honor, I don't think I owe her anything because at the time that I stayed in her house, I helped out with their children. I helped them with their schoolwork because she was in the bed all the time.
Where's the pink slip for the car?
I don't have the pink slip, but I do have the title right here, the registration.
You do?
Yes.
Let me see it. Now, sir, you're going to tell me, Mr. Jackson, what morally you think you owe this lady from the maybe $1,000 that you're going to get for this car, the title of which I hold in my hand.
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know, Your Honor.
Think hard, sir.
Well, she didn't file a claim with the GM.
Think hard, sir. You live in a place where you don't have a place to park your car? Is that right?
Correct.
So that she was really doing something that helped you, because if you had had to move your car within a week or so after moving out, which was what your original agreement was, right?
Well, we didn't have an original agreement.
You
to
said,
begin
can
with
I
when
leave
moved
my
out."
car here for a week or so when you left?
I don't remember saying that to her.
What did he say when he moved out?
Well, he didn't say anything. It's obvious to me that when you move out, you move out. You take your clothes, you take your shoes, you take your hats, and you take your doggone cars, too. Don't that go with the package?
Now, Mr. Jackson, I'm going to ask you one more time. How much do you think you ought to pay her for the inconvenience of having your jalopy in her backyard for 6 months? You better come up with a figure, sir, otherwise you stand to lose your car.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Give me a figure, sir.
I would pay for the fence to be replaced at her house because she has a wooden fence around her property, and there was 2 sections of it that fell down, and I'll agree to pay for the restoration to get it fixed.
How much will that cost you, Miss Mitchell?
I don't know, Judge. I really would hate to quote a figure.
Cost you about $200-300?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Mm-hmm.
At least.
Well,
it's a half-acre piece of property. It's not a, it's not a from here to here. It's a half-acre piece of property. and the fence extends all the way down to here. And what happens the reason why it became such an inconvenience and I kept calling him is because when the fence is down, my property is insecure.
So, you're going to give him back his car?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Mitchell.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Here you go. Would you give this dirty old title back to him, please?
Yes.
Don't spill coffee on a title, Mr. Jackson, because you should keep it someplace safe. That's responsible. And you, madam, are going to get $500 to fix your fence.
Thank you very much.
Very good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
I told you he was going to pay me. Didn't I tell you he was going to pay me? I told him. I said, you're going to be sorry.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Didn't I tell you?
Yeah, but you should have been patient with me and give me enough time to get
Adam,
my car.
how much time do I have to give you? 6 months, honey, is a long time.
Yeah, but you know my
can't go off.
situation.
I know your situation, yes. You rip and run to Vegas every other weekend with these young floozies, and you don't have time enough to come over and take care of your business. That's the bottom line, am I right?
Year-old Lily Nava for stealing his Lexus and vandalizing it. Lily claims her friend was being attacked and used his car to get away.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise.
Yeah, this is case number 305 on the calendar in the matter of Mohammed versus Nava. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Oh, Bert, it always worries me when I see evidence in a plastic bag.
Me too, Judge.
Mr. Mohammed, you are suing the defendant. Would you stand up straight, please, as a court? For $750 because you say she stole your car and vandalized it. Is that right?
That's right.
You and the defendant went to a club together, correct? Dance club. You were with a male friend, and she had 2 other female friends with her. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. It was a Mexican nightclub, so that's what
I don't see how that's particularly relevant, madam. Whether it was a Mexican nightclub or what kind of a nightclub
What would he
it was.
be doing at a Mexican nightclub? You know?
We're talking about his card, not about what kind of club it was.
Okay.
Just be quiet and pay attention. So you're inside the club and you're dancing and I assume doing what you do at a club, and it came time for you to leave. According to your complaint, you got into your car. You were in the passenger seat, front passenger seat. Is that right?
Yes.
Your male friend and your 2 female friends were in the back seat.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, you acknowledge that you took his car.
I didn't take it. The police report doesn't say I took it. My friend took it.
That's what you say. You say your friend took the car and you left it at your brother's house. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, according to your complaint, sir, you got out of the car.
Yes.
Tell me why.
When I was leaving the club, there was a girl, excuse me, there was a girl that I spoke to earlier at the club. She flagged me down to talk to me. I parked my car, left the car running, went around the car to talk to the girl.
How far away from the car were you at that point?
2 feet. I was right next to my car. I was talking to her. My friend was in the car, so I felt safe since he was on the back seat. He got out of the car to join the conversation.
So he left the girls in the car too, and the 2 of you guys went and talked to this other girl.
We were standing right next to the car talking to the girls, correct?
Was there one girl or more than one girl that you were talking to?
One girl.
So the 2 of you guys were talking to one girl?
I was talking, he was listening.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then as sudden, I saw my car moving, like backing up. I looked at my car, and then I saw Lily on the driver's seat. I tried to run after her to stop her, like telling her to stop. And the security guards in the club, they also ran after her, but she took off at high speed. I ran to a payphone in the parking lot, and I called 911. I reported the car stolen. The police responded within minutes. They tried to screen the whole area around like the club. They couldn't find the car.
Now, you ultimately, according to your complaints, had to take a taxi cab home for $100.
Actually, 115, and that was about 3 hours later because I had to walk for about 3 or 4 miles to get to the nearest payphone at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I called the cab, and I went
And then
home.
you got the car back. Ultimately, they found the car.
Correct. Actually, she took the keys to the police department, and she told them where the car is.
How much later?
I would say about at least 16, 17 hours later, I was able to locate my car.
Now describe the car when you got it back, sir.
The car was very dirty. There was vomiting on the door, on the inside, on the interior and the exterior, on the carpet, on the leather. There was so much trash, like fast food trash from Jack in the Box. The property inside the car was badly vandalized.
What property?
I had a radar detector.
You had what?
A radar detector.
Radar detector.
That I paid $380 for it. This is the mounting bracket, and this is the wire connection, and that's all what's left from that device. My Ray-Ban sunglasses were flattened. Somebody has been sitting on them, so they're not usable. And as you can see, that the whole frame is twisted.
What's in the bag?
In the bag, actually, this is my belongings were left like this. If you look at them, some of them are business documents. Some of them are checkbooks that have been taken out of their cover. My credit cards were like.
Well, were these in a suitcase or an attaché case or just in the glove compartment?
I had them. I had them like this in the trunk. I had them like this in bags like these in the trunk. And then when I found the car, everything was trash and the bags were empty and the credit cards were all over. Until this point, I don't know if there is any of the credit cards missing or the IDs that I have, because it's just a big mess for me to go through it in such a short period of time.
All right.
If you want me to itemize the parts that were damaged or missing.
In a minute.
Okay.
Now let's hear your story. Look at me.
Okay.
Because I read your answer.
Okay. He picked us up and we went out. There was no intention, like, you know, we didn't go out as a date. We went as friends.
He called you or you called him?
He paged me, and I called him back.
So you called him?
Yeah. And he asked me, what are you going to do tonight? I said, I'm going to go out. And then he says, well, why? Because we were going to go out before, but I was like, I didn't want to go out with him. And he came and he picked us up.
You and two friends?
Me and my friend here. My other friend, she moved already. They picked us up. They weren't even dressed to go to a club at all. I mean, he was wearing like jeans and some shoes with no socks and like almost a T-shirt. It was like a T-shirt. And we went out. He didn't do anything. All he did was sit down the whole night. We were on our own.
Miss Nava.
Yes.
He may not have been dressed to go out to a club. I think you are not in the position to even refer to that, since in my judgment, you are not dressed appropriately for court.
Well,
do you understand?
I'm coming from work.
I don't care whether you're coming from work. Did you ever hear from work. Listen to me, Miss Nava.
You know.
Did you ever hear the word sweater?
I don't have a sweater. Right. It's hot outside.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The way he was dressed was awful. Awful. No class at all. To drive a nice car like he does, he has no class to dress.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nikki Mohammed and Lily Nava met at a club. Nikki says Lily stole his car and trashed it. Lily says her friend was being attacked and needed the car to get away.
And then what happened?
Him and his friends were out somewhere, and me and my friends were just our way. So it was time to leave, and we were leaving. Okay, I went inside to go to the restroom. My friend was in the car, and my other friend was in the car. When I come back, my friend here and it's sitting down, she was kind of drunk, and she was crying, saying that he was going up her skirt. Because she was out the sunroof. They were parked, and she was standing out the sunroof. That he was going up her skirt. And I was like, why are you doing that? And then he started yelling at her. I was like, why are you yelling at her? And he was like, hold on. And that's when we reversed, and he parked. So after that, my friend Sandra, she didn't drink at all. She was mad because of what he was doing to her. And she's here to explain it to you.
This one, the one who was drunk? The one who you just told me was drunk. She's going to explain it to me? This I got to hear. Right here.
Water.
Well, I was just like on the sunroof. I was outside saying bye to my friends.
You were on the sunroof?
Yes.
You mean you were sticking your head out of the sunroof?
Yeah, but the car was parked.
Oh, okay.
And I was just saying bye to my friends because we have friends there. And all of a sudden, the guy, I don't know who it was. I just saw a guy with a beard. He was going up my dress. He lifted my dress up.
So you didn't know who it was?
No, I just saw a guy, because I saw his face, and I just saw, like, a beard on his face.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's it, and that's all it... And I got down and I sat down and I was crying because nobody has ever done that to me. And I don't like that, so.
You shouldn't drink to the point where you don't remember what's happening to you, madam.
No, I remember what happened to me. I know what he did.
She wasn't passed out.
Did you put your hands on her?
Your Honor, they were all wearing pants. None was wearing dress. So
She was wearing a dress.
I was wearing a dress.
And to answer your question, no, I did not.
Well, you were in the sun. Listen to me carefully. See, because I'm reading your answer here. Common sense suggests to me that the story that you're telling me is a lot of baloney. Let me tell you why. What I'm hearing is that he got out of the car to talk to another girl, which ticked you off.
No.
Just pay careful attention, because she's sitting in the back seat of the car. He was driving the car. How do you get him?
The car was stopped.
We were parked in front of the club.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah,
the car was parked.
It does make a difference.
Hey, listen carefully, ladies. So what you're telling me is, let me suggest this scenario, if it helps you. He got out of the driver's seat. He came back in the passenger seat where you were, because you were in the front passenger seat. That's what you just told me.
She was in the middle. The sunroof,
I was in the back.
The sunroof is right in the middle of the car. She got up, and then he got back in the car.
See,
I was gone.
I just got up. I was waving by to my friends.
This is the middle. The sunroof is the middle of the car.
Let me ask you this question, Miss Nava.
Nava.
You had two friends with you. One's drunk, right? And you just came back from the bathroom. And you're at a club where there were all kinds of security guards, right? Why didn't you take your drunk friend and your other friend and get out of the car and go into the club and say, we're having some problems with the people who brought us?
Because he was yelling at us, telling us to get in the car. He was like, get in the car, get in the car. I'm like, calm down, what's your problem? He's like, get in the car, we're gonna leave already.
So what you're telling me is, listen to me, so what you're telling me is, instead of, you were frightened of him. So instead
I'm not frightened of him.
So what did you get into the car?
I wasn't frightened, she was frightened. I just wanted to go home, that's all.
So why didn't you go? Who do you live with?
My dad and my brother.
So why didn't you go into the club and call your dad and call your brother? Let me tell you what you said here in your answer. Quiet! Let me tell you why. I read your answer and it all doesn't sound very kosher to me. You know what kosher means? They don't serve kosher food in a Mexican club. All right. You say, Sandra will appear with me in court.
She left already.
Just a second. So she's not here. Sandra, the one who you blamed for actually driving
I
the car
didn't blame
away.
Her. She was driving.
No, that's what you say. I just wrote
the
along
police
with Sandra. Hey,
we didn't blame her.
Are you? Are you?
We didn't blame her.
Try not to talk over me. Listen, madam, you don't know what was happening. You were drunk and probably vomited all over the car.
No.
All right?
That's not even true.
So, listen to me. Try to listen, ladies. You say that you did this because you were afraid for your own safety and your friend's safety, and that's why you took the car.
I didn't do anything. My friend drove the car. I didn't drive nothing. She got in the car and we left. She said,
we were just in the car and she just took off.
The police called at my parents' house. This is what you wrote. And I told them exactly where they could find the car. And they picked up the keys from me with no problem or questions. And they recovered the car.
Because they asked for me at my house. And they were over my house. We came back in the morning to my dad's house. And the police called me.
You came back in the morning?
Yeah.
Well, where were you all night?
At my brother's house.
Why?
Why? Because that was the nearest place we could get there. We just got there and we stood there. I didn't want to go home with the stolen car to my dad, so I went to my brother's.
Yes. I love it when a game plan comes together.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She goes and she can drink all she wants. That's how I feel.
I wasn't driving, so it's all right.
Oh, please. They tell me Costa Rica is a very good place to live in retirement.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nikki Mohammed is suing acquaintance Lily Nava for taking his Lexus and vandalizing it. Lily says she only borrowed the car and did no damage.
Let me see your damages, sir. You have...
I have $115 for taxi.
Okay.
I had $46.90.
Just a second, Bert. Turn on the buttons, because, you know, Mother doesn't know how to do buttons.
That's all good.
Mother knows how to do truth, but not buttons. Go.
$115 for a taxi cab.
You're a big tipper. Yeah, go ahead.
No, actually, it's about 35 miles.
It was $100 here that you wrote here in the complaint, sir. When you put it on the back, you said $115. So I assumed that it was $100. You gave him a $15 tip. Don't lie to me. You want me to show you? You want me to show you your complaint?
Actually, it was miswritten. But anyway, it's $115 for taxi cab. It's $46.90 for rental car. It's $35 for the key emblem.
When did you rent a car?
The next day.
Why?
At 9:30, because I had no car. I had to go about my business.
Why didn't you tell your girlfriend to take you?
Madam. Madam.
When I received the keys back.
Ay, ay, ay. This is our future. Go ahead. This is our future.
When I received,
Come.
When I received
What
the
else?
keys, when I received the keys back, they were missing this emblem, $35 worth of emblem. The Whistler ES80 detector, that's worth $380. Ray-Ban glasses that are flattened for $125.
Get the Ray-Ban glasses.
$165.
165?
$165 for detailing.
For the what?
Detailing.
What's detailing?
Detailing the car, to clean the car, to clean
To clean it.
the
Oh, to
vomit.
clean it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
And
want to clean out the car.
$16 for jumper cables that were missing from the trunk.
Jumper cable.
I don't think that they took your jumper cable, sir. Hey, Bert, are
We
these
didn't
nice
take
Ray-Bans?
anything from his car. We left everything there.
Quiet. You trashed his car. There isn't a question in my mind that you and your friends trashed his car.
He could have put it all together by now. Look at that bag. It's been like 6 months now.
Mr. Mohammed, I want to tell you something. Bird, you like this?
Yeah.
It was still has it in the bag.
She may buy them.
125 for the Ray-Bans?
Yeah. 125 for the Ray-Bans. What else?
That's it. That's
how much
the
we got?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I got
7 items.
$682.90.
$682.90.
No. That is not correct.
That's what's got. Bird never makes a mistake with the calculator, sir.
$115.
I'm not giving you
Okay.
credit for the emblem, sir, on your keys. Go ahead. What else?
There are 7 items. If you add them up right.
These are the items, Bird. $165 for detailing, $125 for the Ray-Bans, $380 for the radar detector, $47 for the rental car, and $115 for a taxi cab.
$832?
Okay. Now, Mr. Mohammed, you have to exercise good judgment, sir.
Yeah, you're too old for this.
How old are you?
I'm 18. He's 30, what, 5?
Madam, nobody dragged you in the car. Nobody told you that you had to go
He
with
didn't
him.
have to.
Nobody said. Nobody said.
He lied about everything. He
lied
about his
about his
name,
age.
about his age, where he lived, everything. Everything he told me was a lie.
Good, so you stole his car.
Stupid. We didn't steal
What?
it, though.
Just a second. Let me explain something to you. This is dangerous business. Dangerous business. You acted like an idiot that night. You got one friend who's drunk. I don't know where the other one is. I don't know whether she had been drinking or not. You're up.
It's all right, though.
She doesn't drink. She's old enough to drink. The other girl's not old enough to drink. She's old enough she could drink all she wants. That's how I feel.
wasn't driving, so it's all right.
Oh, please. Costa Rica. They tell me Costa Rica is a very good place to live in retirement.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Mohammed, be smart, right? Don't fool around with babies. These are babies. They're not fully cooked yet. The only thing that they are is stupid, because they shouldn't have been in your car. And they certainly, if they felt that they were threatened, which I doubt. See, because if I really felt that they were threatened by you or your friend, I would have some compassion for them. But it seems to me, if you feel threatened in a situation and you are in a place where there is all kinds of security, you take yourself,
but they don't even do nothing.
You take yourself inside to a phone booth where there are a lot of people and you make a phone call to your father, your brother, whatever else.
He said it himself, the phone's not till 3 blocks away.
That's not true. They're in the parking lot.
Didn't you just say that?
No.
Yeah. And you're lying.
No.
Again.
It's right there in the police report.
Always lying. Always.
There is a phone in the club.
But he said he had to watch.
There is a phone.
He said he had to watch.
He said
he could have gone to the phone in the club too.
Madam, he said he chased your car.
Where? To the end of the parking lot?
God, get her out of here.